Hello, hello. Just getting the old link set up here. Apparently when you set up a stream on your iPhone, you can't do it from your computer. So let me just... That's really annoying. One sec. We're gonna get started in a second. Nobody here. Thanks. How do we do this? Hey man, what's up? Okay, I gotta cancel this one. And we're gonna start the new one. Yes, delete forever. Okay, we're gonna get started in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Thank you for the chat. Finished dinner. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, it's cancel that one, but there you go. Hey. Not bad. 0 viewers. Hello. How do I open bitrate? Increase the bitrate. All right. Hi everybody. Just sharing this link real quick. All right, well now I know. If you start a live stream on your phone, you're not allowed to transfer it over to your computer. So that's good to know. I will not be so productive on my phone from now on. Stream's current bitrate. How do I do that? Okay. Maybe I can make that better. Settings. Output. Oh, here you go. Video bitrate. What do I set it to? $4,500. Okay. You gotta learn these things that way. How's that? Is it better? Hey Chris, how's the bit rate on here? Looking good? All right. Cheers, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy July 4th. It is a Tuesday, and it's been a very exciting weekend. We've got tons and tons of things to talk about, catch up about. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Trying out the new stream setup. It's a lot of things to do all at once, but the reason why we're here is because we're talking about the new set, Dusk Till Dawn. Over the weekend, we had all of the cards from the new set revealed, and there's a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of stuff to spend money on. We're gonna try and, be careful and contain ourselves, not go crazy, but they're making it hard. Legend Story Studios is making it challenging. So we definitely want to go through some of these cards. We want to take a look, and since what happened here? It's still streaming? Still working? Yeah. Stream health. Thanks for bearing with me here, guys. It's the first time I've ever done this, so I don't know how this works, but okay, awesome. Thank you, Chris, my voice of reason. Let's get back to it. So, a ton of cards were spoiled this weekend, and what we're going to be going through is just really the cards. We're going to take a look. We're going to see there's a pretty handy spoiler tracker that we've been using all weekend, which is basically got every single card from the entire set. We're not going to go through every card because that's going to take a while. And I'm just making you a moderator, Chris. You're managing moderator now. There you go. So you can tell me if I'm screwing things up. Tell me if you can hear me okay. But this is the first time we're doing this. First time we're sharing our screens. This is crazy stuff here. Cutting edge. If my grandpa knew what I was doing right now, he'd be like, that's not possible, bro. But it is. I'm talking to the world. And let's get to it. I realize probably nobody's going to be on this stream because there was a different one that I had set up and it got canceled. So if anyone's waiting in that one, don't wait in that one. Come to this one. This one's better. But we're going to start. And the way we like to think about these things, because these are, quarterly set releases, they're going to be doing 4 sets a year. I like to think of it, it's very fitting to think about these as a quarterly business review. We want to review how these cards are doing. We want to look at their performance, perhaps, get them ready for promotion, set them up for success. That's how we do it in the old cubicle. So, why not? But truly, what I want to do today is just take a look at some of the cards. And I got my handy dandy rating system here, very advanced. I got my picture-in-picture webcam here. Hopefully you can see this all right. We've got our very advanced rating system. We've got a 1 for the weakest cards. I want to talk about the system we're going to be using today to evaluate these cards. This game isn't really like your traditional combo building Hearthstone kind of game where you build a deck and you kind of build towards a combo and you see it play out. This game is very built around every hand is important. So you draw 4 cards. What can you do with your hand? So the whole kind of core concept of the game is different than any of your other card games. So it's not as easy to say a 5 is amazing and a 1 is trash. So the criteria we're going to be using today is 1 to 5. 5 is, as you can see, the heat, but it really just means this is kind of an auto-include in almost every version of this deck. Every version of this hero, you want to be taking this card as much as possible and putting this card in your deck as much as possible. And remember, this is a supplemental set, so we're not going to actually be able to draft this. You can't, there's no limited format cards, so you can't be like, this card is better in limited and, it sucks in draft. It sucks in classic constructed. That's just not even a factor here because you can't draft this set. So it's all going to be constructed. It's all going to be built. People's creativity. That's what we're going to see. So, if we were playing a draft type set, then we could say, oh, some of these cards are good in draft because, they let you do certain things. But no. Today we're talking about 5, basically an auto-include. You want to put it in every version of the deck. It's too good. Also, these are kind of the first cards you think about when you are building your deck. So what kind of cards do we typically see when we're talking about that? No, that's a new card. Oh, no, that's a new card. Forget about that. I'm going to cut that out. What kind of card are we talking about when we're talking about a 5? We're talking about the Spring Tunics. We're talking about, unfortunately this card is $300, but there's some cards that are auto includes that are not $300. This card, unfortunately, is also $200 or $100. But these are the ones that, if your deck can use this strategy at all, you want to put this card in your deck automatically. So that's a 5. If we're talking about 4s, and a 4 is really just, you try to include it if it fits your deck. Sometimes even if it doesn't, you try and make an effort to include that card. So we're talking about 4s, we're talking about Boltons, we're talking about Lumina Ascensions. These are cards that are obviously very powerful and on rate, and you'll include them wherever you can. Same with Art of War. I think Art of War is a good example of the difference between a 4 and a 5. So there's decks that have no business playing Command and Conquer, but they'll play Command and Conquer because it's just one of the best cards in the game. And then there's decks that actually benefit from using something like Art of War, and they'll always include that, but it's not a unanimously good card. Not that every deck plays Command and Conquer, but pretty much every deck. So that's the rating system we got here from the top end. We're talking about 3s. 3s are just good in certain matchups. So they're playable in other matchups, but they're just really, really good in certain matchups. So think about that brute card that destroys an item. That's like actually that's probably a 2. But cards that are really good in certain matchups, and then they'll probably block for 3 or they'll pitch for blue. So you can include them in other matchups that aren't specifically for that. And then we're talking about 2s only for certain matchups. They're sideboard only type cards. Those are that's that brute card that I was talking about that destroys an item. It's more of like a hate card against a dash or something like that. So those are the kinds of things we're talking about. And then the 1 is really just not going to see play. So if you see a 1, it's a pack filler. It's not really, nobody's going to go out of their way to include that card. So, with all that precursor, listen to me ramble for a few minutes. Oh God, how long have I been rambling? Let's get to the actual card. It's been like four minutes. A lot of exciting things in this set. A lot of people, the thing that's the most exciting is the return of certain heroes that people really love. And we've got the hero Prism, who is returning in a new form altogether. We've got the hero Bolton returning with some new cards. We've got the hero Levia coming back with all kinds of hotness. So let's get to the cards, because it's time to actually talk about them. So the new Prism, her name is the Prism Awakener of Soul. Trying to understand how this hero works. I wasn't playing this game when Monarch was first released. I know that the original Prism, everyone's talking about how she's more busted than the new one. So I'm okay with that. I don't want people to read the card and be like, this is just going to destroy the game. So there's obviously some counters to her style. And let's actually read out the card. So whenever a card with Herald in its name is put into Prism's Soul during an action phase, you're going to search your deck for a Figment, put it into the arena, and then shuffle. So I got my Prism here. I've got my Luminar Celestial Fury. And I'm going to be attacking with Heralds, and I'm putting them into my Soul. And I'm going to banish a card from my Soul to awaken these very powerful effects called Figments, which we're going to look at. So hero-wise, not much to really talk about until we take a look at some of her cards. But I think, obviously, art-wise, it's amazing. Her health has gone down significantly, so that's usually a good sign that she's doing some pretty crazy stuff, pretty powerful stuff. So let's actually take a look at her weapon. So Luminaris Celestial Fury. This is the one I think everyone saw and was like, the last Luminaris was way better. And that's fair. The last Luminaris was pretty busted, and Legend Story Studios has said that is the problem card. It wasn't so much Prism that was the problem card, it was really her weapon. So I'm happy that they kind of gave her something more reasonable. So what does this actually do? Once per turn, your heralds get go again. So either her attacks with herald and his name goes go again. Go again is obviously very strong, keeps your turn going. So we'll get to those heralds in a second. She also got some legendary equipment for light illusionists specifically. And yeah, haven't given these any scores yet. I think it's probably more helpful to go over some of the cards yet, and then we can kind of give them some scores. Yeah, let's figure out what they do first. A lot of the cards you're going to see are built around this. If a card with Herald in its name has been put into your soul. So Prism's whole play pattern is getting those cards, tucking them under her soul here, and then doing some crazy stuff because of that. So this is really a cost reduction effect. So anytime we've seen a cost reduction, it's worth looking at because it generally leads to some very powerful turns. So if a card with Herald in its name has been put into your soul, the first hero ability you activate this turn costs 2 less. And her hero ability is banish a card from Prism's soul, awaken target figment that you control. So all of that stuff is kind of working together to do something very powerful. But the real question is this better than having a tunic? Probably. I don't know. I've never played Light Illusionist. I think this is where I look to the community to tell me how good is this card. I would probably assume that this is going to be very powerful because if a Herald was put into her soul, then she can basically use the banish a card from the soul and use a figment for free whenever that happens. So what are figments? Let's take a look. For those of you who have played Dromai or played against Dromai, you know there's actually 8 figments. So there's only 8 figments that Prism can actually summon and use. So the figments that we are talking about here, the first one is called Figment of Erudition, and they're all legendary. So you only get 1 in your deck, and when this enters the arena, it does something pretty powerful. So every time you're using your Prism ability and a card is put into your soul with Herald, then you can take that figment out of your deck and put it into the arena. So it's pretty easy to get that stuff going on its own. So in this case, we've got, creating a ponder token. Let's make this a little bigger. We can actually see. Okay, there you go. Now we're cooking. So when this enters the arena, you may turn a card into in any banished zone face down. So this one shuts down your opponent from actually playing cards from banished. We're going to see that's a huge thing in the shadow decks. The next one is creating a spectral shield token. Huge. Enters the arena, deal 1 arcane damage. When this enters the arena, you may put a yellow action card from your graveyard on top of your deck. Okay. And when this enters the arena, your next attack this turn gets dominate. Okay, so pretty broad range of effects from giving your next attack an ability to shutting down your opponent's next attack to creating tokens. So the benefit of this is that she's going to be able to search this out anytime she needs that specific figment. So she can search it out with her ability, and then she doesn't even have to activate it until she needs, because when you do activate it, what happens? These figments gonna flip, and the figment turns into this crazy angel ally. And these are obviously very sweet. They have different effects. Obviously, we don't want to go through all of them. And I realize there's a lot of cards in this set, and I don't think I have enough vodka soda to get through all the cards. But let's get through the Prism cards today. Let's give it a try. I was very ambitious, thinking I could do all of these cards. Let's give the Prism ones a try. So Soraya, Archangel. For 2 resources, they can attack And when they attack, you banish a card from your soul. If you do, draw 2. Obviously, wickedly powerful. Drawing cards in this game is nuts. Ward 4. Now, this is a keyword that I've had a lot of time just kind of thinking about how it works and asking a lot of people questions about how it works. And it's really, really strong in pretty much every deck, or against every deck except the new hero, Vincent, which is really built to shut down this ward strategy, which is cool. I'm really happy that they printed something to stop someone from just becoming a boogeyman in the new meta. But drawing 2 cards is good. This is basically that Art of War card on an Angel ally, because you can draw 2 cards. The only difference is you draw it from your banish from your hero's soul. So I think this is really good. Obviously, I'm just going to start by saying I think all of the figments are automatically going to be 4s or 5s, because there's only 8 of them, and Prism's entire identity is kind of built on taking advantage of those figments. So soon they'll print more, I'm sure. I'm positive they'll give us more. But pretty crazy effects. They do 2 things. So they kind of have the effect when they come into the arena, and then they also have the effect when you activate them. So I think both of those things are pretty powerful. We'll just go through them high level. Each of these cards is legendary. This one, I think we already talked about this. You can deactivate a card. When a card is turned face down in your opponent's banish zone, they can't do anything with it. That's the end of that card for the game. Currently, there's no way to interact with a face down banished card. So, after that is done, when this attacks, you may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, turn a card in any banished zone face down. Okay. So if we want to give these actual ratings, let's start with the first one. Create a ponder token, attack, and draw 2. This is a 5 for sure. Everybody's going to want to draw 2 if they can. This is great. Figment of Judgment. This is a 5 as well, because actually, I don't know. I think this might be a 4. Maybe even, who knows, maybe even a 3. Because you can turn any banished zone face down. You would want to be activating this at instant speed against your shadow opponents when they are trying to do something from their banished zone. So I do think actually that might be pretty powerful, because if they are banishing a card and they're looking to actually play it that turn, because a lot of the new shadow cards we're going to see can be played from your banished zone. You can do this at instant speed. Prism can basically just say, boom, I'm turning that face down. You're not playing that. You're not playing that today. You're not playing that this game. And then this basically does the same thing, but it doesn't do it at instant speed. So I think that the first half of this card is probably stronger than the back half, but it's all one card. It's the beauty of it. What about Figment of Protection? Let's see. This enters, create a Spectral Shield token. I know this one. I've seen this one. I actually took this out of my bulk pile because I needed to read it. Because, again, didn't play against Prism, so it's all kind of hazy to me. But if your hero would be dealt damage, instead destroy this shield and prevent 1 damage from that source. So it's pretty much a ward. It's the same kind of effect, I think. Just ward on a token. So you create a Spectral Shield, and then Aegis, Archangel of Protection. These cards are all so beautiful. They look great. When Aegis attacks, you may banish a card from your soul. If you do, create 2 Spectral Shield tokens. So this is basically creating 3. This one card is creating 3 instances of ward, which is pretty sweet. Not even to say what this card does on its own. Attacks for 4, has 4 health. I think it's obviously very strong, probably a 4. Again, like I said, all these figments are going to be 4s or 5s, I think. I don't think people are going to skip out on any of them because the utility they give you is pretty crazy. Now, Figment of Ravages. When this enters the arena, deal 1 arcane damage. I like that. I like a little ping. Just ping, ping. So you can play that and just deal 1 damage to any target as well. So it's a pretty good way to pop your opponent's ward minions. So as an example, if it's a prism mirror and you have 1 angel ally, they have 1 angel ally, you can just bring out this arcane damage and ping prism, assuming she can't stop you. And then that's going to pop their angel ally completely. What happens when this flips? When Sekhem attacks, you may banish a card from your soul. Okay, they all do that. That's great. So this is also an educational stream, if you haven't noticed. I've read these cards once through on my own, but man, there's a lot of text in this game. You kind of need like a speed reading degree and a PhD in astrophysics to play this game well. So we're learning together here, folks. Sekhem, the Archangel of Ravages. Okay, so you can banish a card from your soul and it deals 2 arcane damage. I'm seeing a trend that all of these cards are basically, you know, the initial effect kind of hints at what the following effect would be. So this one, dealing 3 arcane damage, very cool, very strong. 3 or 4, not 3, 4 or 5. On to the Figment of Rebirth. It's a legendary, of course. When it enters, you may put a yellow action card from your graveyard on top of your deck. That's huge. So any kind of recursion effect, I think, is always worth looking at, because it lets you take a card that you may have already had a very strong turn using. You can flip it back onto the top of your deck, and you can do it again. And this one is going to actually give you Avalon. You may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, put a yellow card from your graveyard on top of your deck. Huh, who would have known? Another one of these double cards that kind of gives you a hint at what's coming next. But I think this is super cool. The fact that they're all like on, you know, 4 attack, 4 health bodies is really cool too. But this is probably very good for longer matchups. So if you're playing against like a, I don't know, old him, new type of old him, definitely a strong card. I'd give that a 4. Figment of Tenacity. This one is the Dominate card. So when this enters, the next attack this turn gains Dominate. So you want to play this before a giant Herald attack, which we're going to see in a sec. And when this attacks, you may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, your attacks, all your attacks this turn gain Dominate. Very, very interesting. It's pretty powerful. I would say this is probably one of the stronger. This is probably top 3. The Archangel of Tenacity. Just being able to give your attacks Dominate when you need them. Super strong. What else we got? Figment of Triumph. When this enters the arena, attack action cards your opponent controls get -1. That is very strong. So against a kind of like a ninja type attack, even though their attacks aren't, their weapons aren't attack actions, they're still going to be lower attack a lot of the time. So especially against like a Phi, this seems like a really strong card against Phi to give them -1. And then when you actually flip this bad boy, your attack cards your opponent gets get -1 until the start of your next turn. Huh, look at that. So you can do this on instant speed on their turn, and you can flip this on until the start of their next turn. So as long as this attacks, then that effect actually resolves. Very cool. And then the last one of the figments. When this enters the arena, create a courage token, and that is a Figment of War. A Bellona. So we've seen this one. This is before the launch for this weekend. We had Bellona. When she attacks, you may banish a card from your soul, put a +1 counter on each angel you control. that's pretty sweet. It's going to basically pump up all of your angels. So if you have a full board, they're all going to be coming in for 5 attack. It's pretty powerful. Again, I think this one is probably more niche. This is probably more of a 4, but still, I don't think any of these are bad cards, and I think that they're all going to see play. Oh. Oh man, there's a lot of cards. The rest of these bad boys are reprints from Monarch. So any of these extended art cards that you see, these are cards that have already been printed in Monarch, but they're getting the extended art treatment, they're getting reprints. These I think are a little easier to evaluate because they are attack actions. So for those of you who have never seen a illusionist attack, it's got this keyword here called Phantasm. When you've heard the word poppers before, poppers are going to be very important when you're playing against Prism because a lot of her attacks have Phantasm. And these are really the fuel cards behind her Figment abilities. So the top little verbiage on your Prism card: whenever a card with Herald in its name is put into Prism's Soul during an action phase, you may search for a Figment. So we've seen the new hotness, the new Figments, but now we want to talk about the Heralds. And the Heralds are basically her attacks. So when they hit, they go into her soul and they do something. So just looking at the numbers, her attacks are very strong. 7 attack, 3 block for 2. I mean, that's really strong. And then when it hits, it does something. It defers some damage through a Spectral Shield. But what's interesting about this is that if you're playing against the Brute, which you might with Levia, then none of these attacks are going to go through because of that Phantasm. So you better hope your opponent isn't prepared to play against Prism. There's actually a card missing here. There's supposed to be a Herald of Judgment. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Herald. Yeah, here you go. Here's another for you. Herald of Judgment. This is the card that's missing from that list. Basically, it is a 6 attack, 3 block, 2 resources, Prism specialization. If it hits, put into your soul, big surprise, and the defending hero can't play cards from their banished zone until the end of their next turn. So obviously this is just super bad for shadow heroes. Shut them down. So that's getting the extended art treatment. What else we got here? I'll fly through these pretty quickly. Deal 1 arcane damage if this goes. Strong. These are all, the stats are really strong on these cards. I think they're all 7 or 6 attack cards. And they're all going to have an effect when they hit. And they're all going to go into Prism's Soul when they hit. So you can see the pattern for how Prism plays. Herald comes in for the attack, goes into the soul, flip the Figment, bada boom, bada bing. Now you're cooking with gas. So I think that all these are pretty powerful, but Herald of Ravages. The interesting thing about these cards is that you can't pop Phantasm with your Phantasm cards. So it has to be a non-illusionist card that even Prism has to take. So if you are going to your Monarch drafts, don't just think you're going to use your Heralds to pop their Phantasm. It's all going to be non-illusionist attack cards. So, but I've never seen a lot of these cards because, again, I haven't played in the Monarch meta. So let's see what these guys do. Put up to 1 card with Phantasm from your graveyard on top of your deck. Okay, so recursion, very powerful. Good stuff. I think you guys have realized I've kind of stopped trying to rate these cards because there's a lot of them, and I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to do that, to be honest. Not yet. I think it's fun to talk about them. Unless there's one that's obviously very broken, then I will just throw the heat at it. We got the Herald of Tenacity. Who's this guy? When this hits, put it in your hero's soul. Big surprise. And Dominate. Okay. Very cool. So, I have a feeling that Brute is going to be very popular after this set comes out because a lot of people are going to be trying to make these cool angel cards work. And when you can only block with 1 card from your hand, it doesn't matter as long as it's got 6 attack. And who has the most number of 6 attack cards in their deck? That's going to be a Brute, notably Rhinar. So I think that's going to be just a hot take. It's going to be very popular after this. But if you're not ready for this, it's very strong. Herald of Triumph. This is a cool card. I've seen this one before. But it's basically going to shut down your opponent's cards. -1 attack. Yeah. There's a lot of heralds. Any of these cards I think are going to be strong. Any of these cards people have already seen. Maybe let's get to the new cards. Why not? So, Herald. This doesn't have Herald in its name, but it plays off of that same archetype. So, target attack action cards with Herald in its name get Go Again. That's pretty sweet. Your next angel attack gets +3. So it buffs both of your Heralds and your Angels. So you can actually hit with one of your Herald cards and then your Angel attack will get a +3. So that seems pretty good. Again, gotta try it out, but seems pretty strong. Another kind of buff card for 0 cost. Target attack card with Herald in its name gets +4. You can see a lot of the same synergies coming around here. Whoa, what's going on? What's going on? That's pretty much Prism. So the rest is all commons. They're obviously going to be strong. I love this game because the commons are also really, really interesting. They're like some of the most powerful cards in the game are just the commons. You need full play sets of a lot of them. So I'd imagine some of these are going to be very, very popular. So target attack action card with Herald in its name gets +5 defense. So for 0 cost, you can make a Herald, which we've seen, get +5 defense. So all of a sudden your Herald is blocking for 8 with 2 cards. That's pretty strong. I could see this definitely being included on, because it's an instant as well, I could see this being included for your Azalea matchups where you can get a lot of dominates. I could see this just being, sideboarded, definitely sideboarded a lot. I can hear my voice coming from downstairs. My partner's so sweet. She's watching my stream on the TV downstairs. That's too kind. It's probably tired of hearing the word Herald, but that's okay. Harold. I think every Herald should be said like that from now on. Hey Harold, I play Herald of Justice. Herald of Tenacity coming in for 7. Oh. But yeah, that's Prism. Again, I think I'm probably gonna try to look at these cards one more time before maybe after this weekend. It's always hard to speculate on these things, but this weekend I'll be playing a lot of Monarch Draft, and I'll be opening a lot of this set, hopefully, if I win any of those games. So we'll come back to the Prism cards. Honestly, one of the classes I haven't played any games with. So, but Bolton, my man Bolton right here, I've played, I've lost. He's a relatable hero. I understand how he works. I'm down to talk about some of the Bolton cards. So he has the similar, almost identical mechanism here where he charges his soul, and a lot of people say that is the problem with Boltyn because he loses advantage by basically having less cards in his hand. So a lot of his cards care about charging and putting cards under your hero. So, we'll bring our Boltyn out here. We got our little Boltyn token, and a lot of that stuff kind of slows him down. But there's a lot more options. There's a lot more flexibility around some of his cards now. And I've been reading some of the comments. People have been playtesting him. Even though these cards just got announced like yesterday and the day before, people don't stop. You go to Talishar, people are playing already. So he also got a new attack, or a new weapon, which is always good. It's a 2-cost attack, and it's very dependent on being able to charge your hero's soul. So hopefully he's got some new cards that let you do that. Surprise, he does. But if you do charge, then suddenly you have an attack for 2 resources that's coming in for 5, which isn't particularly spectacular. When I first read this, I was thinking, can this be used multiple times? Like, can I charge twice, come in for 10? But the way I read this, if a yellow card has been put into your hero's soul this turn, this gets +5. I don't think it's going to be a +10, but a +5 for 2 is still pretty solid. It's not terrible. He also got a piece of legendary equipment. So when this defends, you may charge your hero's soul. And it's got temper, which is good, so it means it can defend twice. So automatically, Boltyn's game plan has changed significantly. I think this is probably one of the most important cards in the whole set that Boltyn got, because he's actually able to do the thing he wants to do so badly without giving up card advantage. So it goes against a lot of the kind of typical ideas of using your equipment later in the game. So you might want to use this earlier and actually charge and have some cards in there early so you can start doing your Lumina Ascension combo earlier. But the first time you would be dealt damage each turn. If you've charged this turn, prevent 1 of that damage. So you can actually defend, charge your soul, and then before that damage actually goes through, you can prevent 1 of that damage. So first time this blocks, it's actually going to block for 3, which is pretty strong. Unless I got that wrong. Somebody correct me if I got that wrong, but very, very cool. And then you do it again, it blocks for 2, but then temper breaks it. So, but that's just incredible for Boltyn. This is what he needed. Then he got these Banneret cards where he just looks super cool, standing in front of a flag. And they put the keyword Soul Flare. When this is charged to your hero's soul, so now rather than the way that this card works is you may charge your hero's soul, this one actually cares about this card being charged. So when you charge this card, create a courage token. We've got all the courage, got all the tokens here at the bottom. I'm gonna just jump to them really quickly because we haven't seen them yet. But the tokens we're talking about: courage. When you play an attack action card or activate a weapon, destroy this and the attack gets +1. So it's a really simple +1. I like that. It happens when you attack, so that's pretty strong. The Eloquence token, when you play a non-attack action card, destroy this and it gets go again. So it's a non-attack action. That's pretty important. Quicken we've seen, and Spell Void blocks arcane damage. So that's cool. There's a bunch of tokens. Tokens are always annoying, but always good. Banneret of Gallantry. So, sorry, let me come back to this Banneret of Courage. So when this is charged to your hero's soul, create a courage token. That will basically come in. It's 4 attack, 1 cost, 3 block. It's technically below rate. You'd want to see a 4 attack for a 0, but this also has the ability to pump your next attack. It doesn't have go again, but that's what Boltyn's all about. You can take a card from his soul in reaction, and target attack with greater than its base gets go again. It's probably worth reading out Bolton's ability in full, because when I played against Bolton, I got crushed so quickly that now I understand why. If he's charged this turn, your attacks get +1 while defended by an attack action card. So you really have to be mindful about what you're throwing in front of Bolton when he's attacking, because he is going to be attacking with his strong warrior attacks, and you cannot be blocking with attack action cards because you will just increase his attack, give him more juice. And then if you do that, he can banish a card from his soul, and the target attack with greater than its base gets go again. So as long as you blocked with an attack, or if he pumped his attack, then he can just banish something from within his soul and give it go again. So I think this is pretty cool. And what's courage tokens really good at? What are they good at? It's going to be giving every card that they attack with base attack more than their base. So it'll be +1. This will come in for 5. This, he can banish a card and give this go again. Banneret of Gallantry. We've got a Quicken token. That is also a strong, very strong attack, which basically gives your... This doesn't have go again, but like I said, Bolton can give his other cards go again. And then Quicken will automatically crack on your next attack and give you go again. And then I think there's a couple more. The Banneret of Protection. When this is charged to your hero's soul, create a Spellbane Aegis. So they're all 4 attack, 1 cost, 3 block, but they all create different types of tokens. I think they're all pretty strong in their own right, but the ability to give them go again. This one is obviously more for your Runeblade matchup, because you want to stop all that spell damage. There's a couple more bannerets here, but I think these are buy a box promos, or I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll go through it in order. But yeah, I think these are good. I think being able to generate tokens is always good. Beckoning Light, a majestic. They're all majestic so far. As an additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero's soul. You may, so you don't have to. But if a yellow card was charged this way, whenever an attack action card hits this combat chain, you may put an attack action card from your graveyard on top of your deck. So you're setting up your next turn, you're setting up whatever you want in terms of a powerful card on top of your deck. I think that's good. Obviously 3 attacks not great, so you're going to want some of those tokens, those courage tokens, to pump this up. But I think that if it does hit, obviously very powerful. And it's also whenever attack action card hits this combat chain, you can put an attack action from your graveyard. So you could even close the chain and put that same card back on top of your deck. Very cool. Spirit of War. You may charge your hero's soul. A lot of these cards read the same way too, where a yellow card was charged, then something's going to happen. So because a lot of these new cards are a lot cheaper, you're going to be able to actually play some decent hands off of a yellow, because this costs you nothing. So as an additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero's soul. If a yellow card was charged this way, whenever an attack action card hits, create a courage token. That seems pretty good. The fact that he can create something that gives him +1, which gives him go again, seems pretty strong. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be dependent on, do you have the resources to charge your soul and attack and then get rid of the cards in your soul at the same time? So it'd be cool to play with. I don't think I'm going to try to play Bolton at the pre-release events, because from what I've heard, it's not great. But hey, this new stuff is going to give him some new life in the draft format for sure. Okay, next one. Prayer of Bologna. Bologna. For 1 resource, your next attack this turn gets +2. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's yellow, put it into your hand. Then charge your hero's soul. See, this is very good. I think this is one of the best cards that we've seen so far, because this is the big problem that Bolton has, where he runs out of cards to do the charging and the attacking. But here, if you can take a card or draw a card, as long as it's yellow, then you can charge your hero's soul. It doesn't have to be that card, but you can charge your soul and then also get go again, and then also pump your next attack. So I expect to see 3 of this card in every Bolton deck for sure. What else? Banneret of Resilience. 3 attack, 0 cost. When this is charged, the next action card you defend with gets +1. That's solid. Pumping up your next attack for blocking. So this is obviously more of a defensive card. Seems good. Banneret of Salvation. When this is charged to your hero's soul, the next time you hit this turn, gain 1. This one's probably not that good. It's only the next time you hit. You only get 1. I feel like, give me something more, you know? I could benefit from a little bit more. Sorry, my dog's barking. She doesn't like that card either. It's cool. And then we got Banneret of Vigor. When this is charged to your hero's soul, the next time you hit this turn, gain a resource. This one might be pretty good, because this will let you play a lot of those bannerets from before with 1 resource. But you obviously need to charge to your soul. Beaming Bravado. Okay, we're getting to the rares now. So these are all in order from weapon, legendary, majestics to rares. So we can get through, I think we're gonna get through the rares, the light cards, and then probably take a break. Maybe we'll do the shadow cards tomorrow, another day. But let's start with the old Beaming Bravado. So you may charge your soul, obviously. Great for Bolton, giving you that option. But if a yellow, how many of these have we seen? The yellow charge. This is obviously very good. This gets +1. So for 0 cost, if you charge a yellow, comes in for 4. 4 for 0, always good. Blocks 3. I think it's great that he has this kind of utility. Definitely gonna see play. Probably only in the red variety though. But maybe, let's see. The yellow card was pitched this way. No, I don't think that's gonna be realistic to see the blue version of that. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of blue in Bolton at all. I think we're gonna see a lot of red and a lot of yellow. But let's see. V for Valor, attack reaction. Good old warrior attack reaction. For 1 resource, oh, it's an aura. Okay, so you can play this, keep it out on the field, and then when you're ready, you can actually crack it. So for 1 resource, destroy this, charge your hero's soul, target attack gets +3. That seems really good. Probably would have been better if this could have not cost anything, because it's already going to cost you a resource. It doesn't block for 3, which is kind of a bummer. But it does a decent amount of stuff. Charge your hero's soul, target attack gets +3. Could be good. Glaring Impact, let's see. Charge your hero's soul. If a yellow card is charged, this gets Overpower. Overpower is this keyword here. Can't be defended by more than 1 action card. Could be defended by an instant. Could be defended by equipment. 4 for 1. Not sold on this one. Probably not going to see a ton of play. But hey, overpowers might be really strong. And then we got Light the Way. You may charge a Hero Soul. When this hits, if a yellow card was charged, this gets Go Again. Honestly, this might see play. The fact that you don't have to banish a card to give it Go Again, I think this is pretty strong, even if it's not, even if it has a few conditions. I think people are hesitant to block 3, and it seems like there's probably a lot of ways for us to give this more than just 3 base attack. So just getting Go Again off of a natural source and then being able to decide when to use your Soul Go Again, I think that's going to be the whole mind game. Whereas when Dory plays, your goal is to not block at all because you don't want her to get any reprise, but knowing when to block. And then I think same kind of thing with Warriors and Bolton here, because you don't want to block for 3 if you don't have to, but you also don't want him to get Go Again. So. Resounding Courage. Target Light Warrior attack gets +3. If you've charged this turn, create a Courage token. This is good. I like this card. For 1 resource, this is a pretty standard kind of buff, +3 attack. And if you've charged, create a Courage token. So it's not giving you the option to charge, but it's a reaction. So always good to be able to catch your opponent off guard, give him a good smacking. Let's see. This is probably one of those cards that would be played in yellow as well. I think that's actually probably worth playing, because you get +2 attack. People might not expect that. If you charge this turn, create a Courage token. Courage token, as we've established, very strong, giving your attacks extra damage, extra sauce. And then the last common card from Sir Bolton, Charge of the Light Brigade, for 0 cost. The next attack you charge this turn gets +3. Very cool. So you can actually, when it says you may charge, that's what is considered charging your hero's soul with that attack. So if it says you may charge your soul, and then if a yellow was charged, then this card was charged, this attack itself. So that makes sense, because when you read Charge of the Light Brigade, the next attack you charge this turn gets +3. So you'd kind of want to use the charge here after using Charge of the Light Brigade. All in all, I think it's pretty solid. I think people talking smack about Bolton are gonna lose because they're not expecting it. And I'm excited to see. I'm excited to play. I really, really am most excited about. Unfortunately, this card is a legendary, because I think this is probably the most important. Yeah, hey Travis, welcome, man. The whole set is not officially out, but it is, because there's a spoiler spreadsheet here we've been tracking all weekend, and the only cards that were missing were these 5 here, and it looks like they've been filled in. So congratulations to everyone who didn't splurge and didn't buy a Crown of Providence for $300, because it's getting a reprint, baby. Thankfully, you're going to be seeing a Crown of Providence. Given that this set is going to be cracked a lot, I think we're going to see the price of Crown of Providence come down a lot too. So, woohoo! And then, yeah, but yeah, everything's out. This, if you go on Reddit, or actually Fabry probably has everything on here now too. I just kind of went through all the Light Illusionist cards and the Light Warrior cards, and we're going to go through just the Light generics. And then we're gonna need to take a drink break because there's a lot of cards in this set. We haven't even gone through, one by one, but we're hitting a wall. It's funny that they put all these generic equipments, not generic, but they put all these, it feels like draft equipments in here. And I think a lot of people I've been talking to about this set, it really feels like a draft set. Like it's like somewhere between a supplemental set and a draft set because it's so close to being draftable. Like cards like this, I just don't know like who's really gonna play these, but these are always kind of a hallmark of those draft sets where you have a generic or you have a talent equipment in each pack, so at least you're going to get your common equipment or a full play set if you take it early. So it's kind of interesting to see that they put all this stuff in here, but I guess commoner players definitely need cards too. We can't all just be balling out and buying $300 legendary equipments. So it is cool that they have those options. We didn't talk about these yet, but the Radiant equipment set, Radiant View, Raiment, Touch, Flow, all these are going to do the same thing in their respective equipment slots. Banish this and a card from your soul. Prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to your hero this turn. I think that's pretty good. There's obviously some damage that can't be prevented with Vincent, which we're going to look at later. But 2 damage, actually it's probably not that good. But for a very, budget-friendly option, 2 damage is 2 damage. In Blitz, it's probably more useful. But if you're playing Blitz, you probably want to kill your opponent pretty quickly. You can't be giving up cards from your soul because they just are too important to your game plan. But it's good to have this option in case you're going to take some pretty important like on-hit damage. You don't want to have that. So yeah, these are pretty average though, I'd say. And then your light action, which this card was spoiled a while ago, but I think this is probably one of the most exciting cards because there are a few cards like this in the set that are kind of laying out the foundation for what Flesh and Blood is going to start doing in the future, which is multiplayer, ultimate pit fight, PvP or PvE. We don't know what it's going to be, but I think it's so interesting that they release these cards that have multiplayer keywords on them, and we're going to see a lot more of that in the future, I think. So Unity, when this defends, it kind of runs through all of the heroes that are in your party, and it gives you a token based on each of them. So if you don't have any of these heroes in your party, you definitely don't want to be playing this card because it's a 6 attack for 3 with blocks for 2, so it's not great. But if you're playing Ultimate Pit Fight or whatever, and you have a Briar, a Lexi, and an Oldhim in your party, you want to play this card, even though you can't because it's a lighted action. So you got to play it as Prism or Bolton. Hearing a lot about the PvE stuff. Yeah. Anything you're hearing so far, I think is all rumors. So, but I love that LSS just kind of drops these cards and they're like, yeah, it's coming. Don't worry. Something is going to be using these cards eventually. I mean, we know that they have a multiplayer game mode called Ultimate Pit Fight, but I haven't played it. I don't think it's called, I don't know if it's about parties or anything like that, but if somebody knows, please let me know. But I think it's going to be for the next game mode that comes out. And then we've got our light, just generic light action cards. So when I first saw this card, I thought it was busted. For 0 cost, as an additional cost, you can banish up to 3 cards from your soul, and you can choose this many modes. So So it's kind of like an Enlightened Strike on steroids. You can pump up your attack to 2, you can draw a card, and you can give it go again. So the cool thing about this is that it's a reaction too. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to telegraph your move beforehand. You can do this afterwards. I think it's a cool card. I think this is definitely going to see a ton of play. Radiant Force Field. We got our 0-cost Majestic. If your hero would be dealt damage, banish a card from your soul to prevent 1 of that damage. When there are no cards in your hero's soul, destroy this. Huh. I'm not sure. Again, you would only really be using this to prevent a really strong on-hit, I would say. But cards in your soul seem to be pretty powerful, pretty important, especially for Boltyn. Prism's cards all seem to be pretty easy to get into soul. So I would imagine that this isn't super powerful, but the fact that you can just throw this out when you need to, and you can banish 3 cards if you need to, and block 3 damage, that's pretty huge. It gives you a lot of flexibility. Lay to Rest in the rare slot. When this attacks, okay, here, now we're getting to the hate cards. Shadow hates light, light hates shadow. When this attacks a shadow hero, it gets +1 attack. When this hits a hero, you may turn a card in their banished zone face down. So shadow cards, shadow heroes, they love playing cards from their banished zone. This also has an on-hit for turning cards in their banished zone face down. And a face down card in your banished zone, like we said, is a dead card for the rest of the game. Can't do anything with it. So for 1 resource coming in for 6 most of the time, if you're playing against a shadow, and blocking for 3, I think this card is just awesome, and it's going to be in every single sideboard for the shadow matchups for sure. There's no downside really to running this card. Blessing of Salvation. If a card is put into your hero's soul this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. I was scratching my head reading this one earlier because it's a 1-cost Sigil of Solace for 3. But Sigil of Solace is free. So I'm not sure. If a card has been put into your hero's soul, you may play this as though it were an instant. So is it just another Sigil of Solace? My guess is that the answer is yes. So healing might be very underrated in this game, especially because a lot of games come down to 1 or 2 points of health. So if your strategy is really just throwing on a bunch of heals, I think that's not a bad strategy. People run three red Sigil of Solaces, that's 9 healing. You can basically run 6 of them now. But I guess it just depends on if there's any better healing options out there. The fact that this blocks for 2 also is pretty powerful, so it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you want to block instead of take the damage if there's any on hits. I think that's cool. Definitely cool design. Play it as an instant. Otherwise, you got to play it on your turn. Sucks that it's dependent on charging, but I think it would just be too good otherwise. And then we've got Cleansing Light. Look at these cards. They look great. If a card has been put into your soul this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. Destroy target red aura. Ooh, I like this. I like aura hate cards. Or just, tech cards as they call them. But being able to choose what type of cards you want to destroy based on your opponent, I think that's super cool. So what are some of the strong auras? I know there's Passing Mirage, the one in the Dromai. Dromai has a bunch of really strong auras, and she usually plays mostly red cards. So I think this is probably going to be pretty strong in red. But you also have the ability to just attack their auras and destroy them. So I don't know if this is better than just doing that. But the fact that you can play this as an instant means that you can probably deal with it on their turn right after they play it. So they can't do what they want to do. So I think that's pretty cool. You have to charge, obviously. Blistering Assault. Is that Dorinthia? Kind of looks like her, but might just be another person from, where are they from? Wraith? Okay. If you have a yellow card in your pitch zone, this gets go again. Okay, 5 attack, 2 resource, 2 block, go again. I don't think this is very good, personally. But, hey. I mean, if you compare it to that Katsu card, what is it? The start of all his combo cards. It has a natural go again, 2 resources. It's just not even close. But hey, pack fillers gotta be pack fillers. I never understood the need for pack fillers on a supplemental set. Yeah, so some of the new Bolton cards, Travis, are really focused on playing yellows and specifically charging yellows. So some of these Majestics have the same kind of text on them. If a yellow card was charged this way, do something really strong. So definitely situational, but I think if you're kind of building your deck entirely in that direction, maybe it's good. And another thing that's solid about it is that you don't have to worry about finding go again. You wouldn't have to use Bolton's hero ability to give it go again. This just, if you pitch the yellow card, which you probably have a lot of, then you'll automatically have go again. So maybe it's not that bad, but it's just a little bit expensive for what it is. Defender of Daybreak. When this defends a shadow attack. Yes, shadow hate cards. Beautiful. Non-equipment light cards get +1 this combat chain. When this defends a shadow attack. So defending, non-equipment light cards get +1 this combat chain. Cool. So you can basically just play this first, and I wonder if this applies to itself. I would imagine that it would. So when this defends a shadow attack card, all of a sudden it goes up to a 3. So that's pretty good. 4 attack, 0 cost, already totally reasonable. You could play that card, but then also being able to kind of flick-flack your light cards, this seems pretty strong. I definitely expect this to get played. Searing Ray. If you have a yellow card in your pitch zone, hello, we got that same little effect going on here. If you have a yellow card in your pitch zone, this gets +2 attack. So for 6 attack, 2 block, 1 resource, like that last card we were looking at with the yellow pitch, makes sense. That seems pretty good. 6 attack, if you know the majority of your deck is going to be yellow pitch, that's pretty simple to set up. I think that definitely could be, you could probably run 3 of these in red, even though it kind of goes against your whole deck strategy. So how good would this be in yellow? If you had a 5 attack for 1, probably not good enough in yellow, but it's good enough in red. And if the rest of your cards are yellow, then yeah, I could see it. But yeah, Travis, this is awesome. 4 attack, 0 cost, 3 block, and then pump up the rest of your blocks. Definitely gonna seem very strong. And the Break of Dawn. Got some more shadow hate here. Prevent 4 of that shadow damage. That's pretty sweet. This is basically a, what's that card? Oasis Respite for free. So instead of blocking anything, you can just block shadow damage. So this is probably going to be your sideboard if you're playing against Vincent, playing against Levia. It's pretty good though. That's basically a sink below, and you can prevent that shadow damage that way. And that brings us to the end of our light cards. There's actually one more light card that's not in this page yet, which I want to see. They haven't added it yet, but it has been redeemed. Sorry, it has been revealed. And that's the Fable for the set. The last light card. It's a legendary. Gonna be awesome in cold foil. Probably awesome in rainbow foil. When this is pitched, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's yellow, you may put it into your hero's soul. So more and more of that yellow card pitch synergy. This seems really good. Obviously, probably not even worth talking about in terms of the impact it's going to have on people's decks and stuff, because I mean, I'm not going to be able to afford this, and most people are not going to have this in their decks. But hey, you never know. There's some really cheap Fables right now. So, but this is going to be a competitive card, unfortunately. So buy it if it dips down low, and if you like that light playstyle, because that's going to be a really good card. All right. How much time we got? We could try to get through the shadow cards. Why not? I think I get these. I understand these cards conceptually a little bit better than the light cards, because I've never played the light heroes, but I've played a lot of Brute, so I feel at home here with Levia. So let's take a look at Levia together. What does she do? Let's get Bolton out of here. Let's get our Levia token in here. And what she does is nothing. She has no hero ability that is helpful. But her cards are extremely strong, and they have Blood Debt. And she has a really good ability that turns off Blood Debt. So if you've never seen her cards, we're going to look at some of those, but really kind of the Brute strategy, instead of discarding cards with 6 or more, she is looking to banish those cards to disable her Blood Debt. And Blood Debt is going to cause damage if it stays in your banish zone. So her whole game plan is to banish a card with 6 or more attack to turn off Blood Debt for the turn. And then she got some very cool tools to turn off Blood Debt permanently. Her first attack, this is a really hilarious but interesting card. I actually think this is a really good card, personally. I think people see that it's a 6 attack, 2 resource, 1 single use weapon, and they are going to say this is a bad card. But I think that the fact that it swings for 6 when you need it for 2 resources, which is hugely powerful, and then also turns off your Blood Debt when you need it, is also really strong. So if you know you're going to take some damage from Blood Debt, you can basically use this whenever you need it. And I think that for that reason, it's at least worth trying, and people probably will write it off until someone does something crazy with it at a tournament. Spoiled Skull. Okay, we got some new Shadow Brute headpiece, and it doesn't have any block value, but for 1 resource, you can banish this, and you pick 3 action cards with different names in your banish zone, and you can choose one at random, and you may play it this turn. That seems good. Same kind of thing as the last one. For 1 resource, you can turn off your Blood Debt. I think that's pretty good because you can banish this. So at least what they're doing with these 2 pieces of equipment is giving Levia two ways to survive through 2 turns, which is pretty sweet. And then for 1 resource, you can banish this, target 3 action cards with different names in your banish zone. Choose 1 at random you may play at this turn. So you could technically choose a Blood Rush Bellow and play that. So that's pretty cool. But is it better than Crown of Providence or some of the other legendary headpieces? I don't know. We'll see. Diabolic Offering. I think this is one of the coolest design cards in the game. So this is going to definitely get played a lot. I think it's hard to evaluate. So for 1 resource, if a card with 6 or more attack has been put into your banish zone this turn, Diabolic Offering's attack and defense are 6. Otherwise, they're 0. So 6 block is basically a Carrion Husk on a card. So if you get to play 3 of these, you're blocking for 18 damage if they are all gone off. It's a little more challenging to actually get the block mode enabled because it's a lot easier for you to banish a card with 6 attack because exactly what your cards are doing, you're playing it on that turn. But I think if there's a consistent way to actually banish this on your blocking turn, I think it's going to be crazy. That's why it's a Majestic. My rule of thumb for Majestics is they're not bad. There's no bad Majestic, but they're all interesting and they're all kind of built around. So you kind of have to think about how it's going to work and make it work. Not saying that I know how to do that, but that's typically how it goes. But this one is just crazy. Shaden Death Hydra. This one was revealed by my fave YouTube fabbers, the 3 Floating channel. When this attacks, yeah, 6 for 13, yeah. I mean, you can do some serious damage to yourself, but for 6 resources, come in for 13. Blocks for 3 if you just want to play it safe. You want to just block it out. But it deals X damage to you, where X is 13. So if you want to just go pound for pound with your opponent, play this turn 1. But as the game goes on, this gets better and better. So if you have 10 cards with Blood Debt in your banish zone, and you play this, you're only taking 3 damage. And we're gonna see in a minute. There's some cards in Levia's new toolkit that actually want her to be at certain health thresholds to do some crazy stuff. But I think this card is just insane, and probably gonna be a problem. In all honesty, 6 is a lot of resources. It's going to be 2 blues. But if you had 1 blue, a tunic counter, and an energy potion, you could still play it. So that's also an option. Energy potions. I think energy potions are going to be pretty sweet in the next little while. Oh, hi, doggy. Sorry, my dog's going nuts. It's funny, though. She barks at everything. Next Majestic. Slithering Shadowpede. If this was banished from your hand this turn, you may play it from your banish zone. Well, well, well. This is going to be a theme. You're going to see a lot of cards like this, where you play from your banish zone, and that's kind of awesome and nuts, because it's a whole different area you can play cards from. How would you not want that? But 6 attack for 1 resource, doesn't block, so it's a bit riskier. We've all kind of had games that ended because we drew all of our non-blocks at the same time, so just keep that in mind. But I think for 1 resource and being able to play this from your banish zone, it doesn't need to be banished from your hand, which is another kind of consideration, but I do think this is going to be played a lot. Expendable Limbs. And here is a perfect example of how you would play Slithering Shadowpede. As an additional cost to play this, banish a random card from your hand. So maybe you only have 2 cards in your hand. One of them is that Slithering Shadowpede. If a card with 6 or more attack is banished this way, you may play it from your banish zone during your next action phase. So that's pretty sweet. So that just lets you prolong any of those cards that you might not want to play right away. Typically, it doesn't do that. A lot of the banished cards I've seen are you can play that this turn, but this lets you play it until your next action phase. That's pretty cool. Well, look at this bad boy. Blood Dripping Frenzy. As an additional cost, banish your hand. Okay. Draw a card for each card with Blood Debt banished this way. Okay, so you want to banish the cards with Blood Debt. That's good. You can turn off Blood Debt that way. But you also get your Brute and Shadow attack cards get plus X this turn, where X is the number of cards with 6 or more attack banished. So if you can, you would want to banish Blood Debt attacks with 6 or more attack. So this guy, there's no shortage of good choices, but let's say you had what'd you have? You had a 3-card hand. Let's say you had an energy potion, good old energy potion. You play this off the energy potion with a full 3-card hand. You discard 3 attacks with Blood Debt and 6 attack, and you're gonna draw 3 new cards, and your Brute attacks get plus 3 this turn. That's pretty sweet. I think that's pretty crazy. That's obviously the best case scenario where this card gets played, but we have to dream, right? We have to imagine that that's going to happen at least once. So definitely very, very cool. Kind of Stranger Things looking dude over here. I'm excited to try that. Definitely going to try that out. Oh, clicked on the wrong thing there. All right, let's take a look at some of the rares. Ram Raider. Ram Raider has an additional cost. Banish a random card from your hand. If it's 6 or more is banished, this gets Go Again. Oof. Honestly, it's not that powerful because Brute is probably the only class that this isn't that good. Because you have Scabskin Leathers. Scabskin Leathers is a leg piece that gives you 2 or 3 action points when you roll your dice. So this isn't that crazy. 6 for 2, blocks for 3. It's probably going to get played because some people don't like rolling the dice. Some people are scared of a little gambling. But for all the real Brute players, you put on the Scabskins, you roll the dice. You don't really need to worry about this. But I'm just trolling. This is probably going to be a great card, but I won't be playing it, that's for sure. Wallbreaker. If you've banished a card with 6 or more attack this turn, this gets Overpower. This is probably going to see a good amount of play. I think anything that can obstruct your opponent's game plan so that they can't use certain cards to block is always worth kind of trying out. And 6 for 2, great stat line. 3 block, great stat line. It's got Blood Debt, so it works really well with that Blood Dripping Frenzy. So I'll definitely try this out. Overpower. It's really fun to tell your opponent that they can't block with that. They're like, oh, I'm gonna put this down. You're like, nah, you can't do that. Sorry, bro. The real question is, which one of these cards are we going to use in blue so that we can pitch? Probably, well, Expendable Limbs for sure. That's a good one. All right, I digress. Shaden Scream. For 0 cost, you banish a random card from your hand. Your next Brute or Shadow attack gets +5. That's a really strong buff. +5. We have that Brute card from WTR. I think it's Awakening Bellow or something like that. It gives your next Brute attack +5. It's so good because you can just swing your claw for 8 damage. But this is 0. That one's also 0. And this is the benefit here is that you're banishing a card, and a lot of your cards in this set that are banished let you actually play them still. So I think this is going to be I'm definitely going to be trying this out. This is super cool. Strong. Maybe even in blue. Gives you plus. Actually lets you get some card banished. So you kind of have to think about these top lines. They're written in such a way where they make you think they're a drawback, but they're actually the way that Levia stays alive by banishing cards with blood debt. So super cool, and I'm definitely going to try all these cards out. Let's see the commons. Battlefield Breaker. I don't know why I want to say Berserker. Yeah, anything 0 cost, you gotta just look at it and make sure it's actually not worth playing before you write it off. But that's super cool. 3 cost, 7 attack. So if you banished a card with 6 or more this turn, this gets +1. That is great. 8 attack for 3 resources, and blood debt blocks for 3. Totally, if this was a draftable set, this would be, I would take all of these. But I think it's still pretty decent. Yeah, that's right, Lexies. Sorry about your arm piece that got banned yesterday, by the way, Travis. I don't know if you saw the banned updates, but your bullseye bracers, that's the one. Bullseye bracers, they're just trying to slow you down a little bit. Ouch, my arms. It's okay. It's all right. You'll get something crazy in next set. It causes people to be creative, So, next common we've got for 1 resource, 7 attack. I like that stat line. That's pretty good. As an additional cost, banish a random card from your hand. That seems good. 7 attack. Wait. For 1, for 3. That's the discrepancy between these 2 cards is a bit crazy. So this can do 8 if you banish the right card. This one just does 7 automatically with 1 resource. Okay, I see. Sorry, I didn't read properly, but this one doesn't need you to banish anything. This card's good. Never mind. This one makes you banish a card. So still not bad, but it's you want to make sure you're banishing the right card. So still cool. And then Tribute to Demolition. There's a couple of tribute cards here. This is just a tribute card. As an additional cost to play this, banish a random card from your hand. If a card with 6 or more is banished this way, this gets +2 attack. Damn. Okay, so this is 8 for 2. That seems pretty decent. But again, you need to do the whole random banishing thing. So never as easy as it seems, but when it works out, it works out. Tribute to the Legions of Doom. Additional cost to play this, banish a random card from your hand. Card with 6 or more is banished, this gets +2. Is that identical? Are these the same exact card? Just for 1 more resource? We've got 2, 6, 3, 7. Yeah, okay. That's very... Is the next one? Oh, there's only 2 tributes. Okay. This is just a tribute. So, I mean, 9 damage is not... It's not a joke. So, I'm sure people are going to play this. And then if you banish the right cards, why... it's not a drawback. So, definitely going to try all these. I think it'll be fun to... This will be fun to try a like a commoner cube with all these 4 heroes, because they're built for Monarch. They were designed in such a way that they play really well against each other, or they destroy each other in such a elegant way. It would be cool to build like a commoner deck to really try out some of these less expensive majestic cards against each other. So that'll be neat. Fun little evening activity one day. This is not the greatest card in the world, no. This is just a tribute to the Legions of Doom. I couldn't remember the greatest card in the world, no. Now! Alright, it's enough Jack Black for me. And now we are moving on to our final hero. And I welcome our Shadow Runeblade overlords with open arms and open Iron Maidens. Vincent. There's more of that coming for you. Vincent, the Iron Maiden. She's just chilling in there. She looks so cozy in that Iron Maiden. I never understood, where do I get one of these? But this is a super cool hero. Actually, just for the lulz and to remind myself, once they leave the screen, I printed out some proxies of these guys just so I could have them with me, stare at them before I go to bed, and just see what they're all about. But basically, start of your turn, banish a card from your hand. This doesn't save random, so you can pick the card, banish whichever one you want. If you do, create a rune chant token. Awesome effect for a class that plays cards from banished. Super powerful. And rune chants are great too. The second line of text is even better, especially if you're talking about playing against Prism. Whenever you play a Shadow non-attack, you can pay 1 life. If you do, the next rune chant that would deal damage can't be prevented. My mind was a little bit blown when I learned how this worked. I was up at 2 o'clock just asking people on Discord, this can't actually work this way, but it does. So because this rune chant damage is unpreventable, it's going to destroy everything on the battlefield that your opponent has that has ward. So the way ward works is, I'll just pull up a ward card really quickly to show you. We've got all of Prism's her whole identity is built around this ward keyword. Basically, if your hero would be dealt damage, destroy this to prevent 4 of that damage. So this ward ally is going to see, hey, my hero's taken damage. I'm going to trigger my ward ability. So this destroys itself to prevent 4 of that damage. But little does she know that damage can't be prevented. So really, it's just a beautiful domino train of Angel ally tries to block the damage, destroys itself. Next one tries to do the same thing, destroys itself, because that one rune chant, that one pesky little thing has gone through and foiled your plan. So I love that. I think Prism players are going to hate that, and they're going to hate to play against Vincent, but there's got to be some tech that they can add to it. But I think it's mostly just to make sure that they don't go all in on allies, because that would be a lot of... there's no way to really stop that if that train kept going. So they put in a natural gatekeeper in the form of Vincent, and I'm really excited to try this hero. I think the more you initially for new players, I think Runeblade is kind of the most complicated to think about, because you're splitting your damage into 2 different types. But I think once you play a couple games and you you see how it all happens, how all the rune chants are generated and all that stuff, I think it's going to be really cool, and I'm excited to try it. I'm by no means an expert on playing rune chants, but let's take a look at the actual Vincent specialization. There's another weapon that's coming later in these cards, so I don't even know if this is the one that Vincent's going to end up playing, but it's the only one she can play, or it's the one that only she can play. So once per turn, you can attack for health. And you can just do 1 damage and create a rune chant. So with nothing else, Vincent has a pretty powerful toolkit, because you can banish a card from your hand, which you could probably play from the banish zone, create a rune chant. And then when you play a non-attack action card, you can pay 1, and your next rune chant will deal damage that can't be prevented. And you can attack for 1 health, and that rune chant is guaranteed going to go through. So you can basically just go for 1, but the 1 you don't even have to spend a resource on. It's gonna send that rune chant directly at your opponent, and it's gonna hit. There's nothing they can do to stop it. So it's very, very cool, and it's totally like that. It's like using your endless arrow into popping Drome Eyes. It's just super cool that they gave you that kind of workaround. Yeah, HP is definitely a resource in this game. You have to be super careful with a character like Vincent. I think people are going to die because they're not keeping an eye on their own health. But early on in the game, you can just throw your life at your opponent as much as possible and just put the pressure on them. Again, I don't know if this is going to be the weapon that Vincent uses, because she's got a scepter and a kind of, offhand book that she's going to be reading while she's fighting, which is the Grimoire of the Haunt. So for an instant, 1 resource, you can banish this. It has blood debt, so that's cool. And create an eloquence token, which eloquence tokens, if you haven't seen them, they basically give your next non-attack action go again, which is really, really good. You know who would really like to like to use a card like that is Vincent. And you know what card she'd probably like to use is the old Tome of Fyendel. I think eloquence tokens, I'm not the first person to say this, but Tome of Fyendel with an eloquence token is the craziest combo ever, because generally that card ends your turn. So you heal for 5 or heal for 4 if you play it from your arsenal. And this will basically make sure that doesn't happen. So anyway, I'm getting a bit sidetracked. Super excited about eloquence tokens because I think there's certain heroes that are going to leverage them really well. But you can also decide when you want to do that. And that's one of the ways that using your HP isn't going to be so detrimental, because you can heal it back later with things like that, Tome of Fyendel. And it's got AB1, so it's an offhand, it's like an arcane lantern with a whole bunch of other utility. You obviously want to be careful because Vincent doesn't have the same ability as Levia, where they can turn off their blood debt. So once blood debt starts accumulating, Vincent's actually going to start taking damage. Mostly from equipment. I think the attacks, once they go into the banish zone, you can play them from the banish zone. They go into your graveyard, and from the graveyard, they don't do blood debt damage. So let's take a look at some of the Majestics that Vincent got. This crazy Annihilation Abomination going on here. Widespread. For 4 resources, there's 3 of those. I think there's 3 of these guys, yeah. 1 in blue, 1 in yellow, 1 in red. For 4 resources, Runegate. If you control rune chance equal to or greater than Widespread Annihilation, you may play it from your banish zone without paying its cost. So Runegate is going to be one of the strongest kind of game deciders, I think. If you can get your Runegate cards off without having to pay, they're going to just do so much damage, and you're not going to lose. Like, paying 4 resources to play this would be painful, but paying no resources to play this and also throwing 4 rune blades, rune chants at your opponent, very, very powerful. So that's what Runegate's all about. If you have 4 rune chants, you will be able to do that. But when the combat chain closes, each hero who has lost life this turn banishes a card from their hand. That is bad for your opponent typically and good for you typically. So this is just a really crazy good card. I think all of these Runegate cards are going to see a ton of play. If nothing else, hey, it blocks for 3. Widespread Destruction. So for 3 resources, it's a yellow. Same thing, Runegate. Easier to play as a Runegate because it's only 3 resources. You only need 3 rune chants. When the combat chain closes, each hero is lost banishes a card from their arsenal. See, that is interesting too. I like that there's just different layers of zone hate. So you can hate on your opponent's arsenal. Travis, as an example, I would definitely hate on your Lexi arsenal. And I would get that stuff out of there for sure. Like imagining banishing your Endless Arrow. That would be great. I would sleep so well. But this is super cool. And then I think this is probably the most on-rate one, but it's also the least impactful technically because it's anyone who's lost health this turn banishes the top card of their deck. You don't know what the top card of their deck is, and you just kind of have to hope that it's something good. But something in their arsenal is probably there for a reason. And this one banishes a card from their hand. That's also really great because, you can do stuff with cards in your hand. So I think that's cool. These are all going to be like, I think including 3 of these in every single Vincent deck for sure. Funeral Moon. You may play this from your banish zone. If a hero has lost life this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. Okay. Create a rune chant. Okay. You may play this from your banish zone. If a hero has lost, you may play it as an instant. Okay, so if you just really need to get a rune chant going. This is just so good. I think this is gonna be a really good yeah. Sorry, for a second I thought this was just a generic Runeblade card. This would be so good in Viserai. But no, Shadow Runeblade. Yeah, it's cool. Like, these are all, the reason why they put these 3 cards in there is just like, depending on who you're playing and the matchup you're playing, it's like, where do I want to hit you the hardest? Do I want to hit your Arsenal, Ranger? I'm going to put 3 of these in there. But for sure, these are all going to be in your sideboard at least. So this seems cool. I'm not smart enough for this card, but I imagine it's good. This card is very cool, though. The art, at least. The art's very cool. You can play this from your banish zone for 0. If a hero has lost life this turn, you may play this as though it were an instant. Same kind of deal. And create an Eloquence token. So this is good with Vincent, obviously, because you can play both of these from your banish zone. You don't need to use a action point. You can just play these anytime if you've kind of used her ability. Super cool. Eloquence token, like I said, you want to see those in Vincent as much as possible because you want to recover some of that life that you've been life tapping pretty much the whole game. And then, oh, this is the coolest card in the whole set. Oblivion. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. A blue, 0 cost, legendary, so you only get 1. And you need exactly 6 rune chants. So now something like Funeral Moon, you can see why it's super handy. If you're at 5 rune chants and you need 6, you can play that as an instant. And then you play Oblivion. And what does Oblivion give you? Oh, it gives you this little guy here. Nazareth. Nazareth, the Soul Harrower. What the hell is that, you ask yourself? Let's see. Let's bring him up. Bring him up here. Where is he? There he is. Nazareth, the Soul Harrower. So, Prism's not the only person who got sweet allies. They've got a 6 attack, 6 health demon ally. Once per turn for 0 cost, you can attack. And when it hits a hero, you can banish a card from their soul. If it's a light card, you gain life. So this guy's putting in the work. It doesn't have Phantasm, so it's got 6 health. You actually need to do 6 damage to it. I'm not sure if you have to do that all in one attack or if you can do that in multiple attacks over a turn. I'd imagine you can. But I think it's like Magic the Gathering where they heal back up to their full health at the end of the turn. But this thing's awesome. Like, if you get this out on the field, this is just, you must deal with this immediately. Otherwise, I will drain your soul. All right. Next up, we got some rares. We got the Deathly Delight. 5 attack, 2 resources, Rune Gate. So actually 0 resources because you're going to be playing this off your rune chance. When the combat chain closes, gain life equal to the number of heroes who have lost life this turn. So if you've triggered your ability and your opponent took a hit, then you gain 2 life. So you're up on life for the turn, and you've thrown attacks at your opponent. I like that this is a 3 block too. This seems like something that would be a 2 block, but it's just solid card. Deathly Whale. Let's see what we got. The Rune Gates. I love the Rune Gates. When the combat chain closes, create a rune chant. Tokens equal to the number of heroes who have lost life. So similar. we got to group all these cards eventually because they have a lot of the same abilities. So if two of your opponents have, or you and your opponent have lost life, create 2 rune chants at the end of this turn. Assuming you had 3 rune chants before you played this, because you played it for free, you're going to end your turn with 2 more rune chants. So having a good solid number of rune chants at the end of your turn is always good, because you're going to create another one the next turn. You're hoping you can actually use your rune gate ability as often as possible. I think this is a good card, obviously. For red, 1 cost. Create a rune chant token. Hey, there they are. The next attack action card you rune gate this turn gets +3. Look at that. Rune gate synergy. Very cool. For 1 cost, 3+ pump, and create a rune chant. So this is extremely, extremely good. I think this is going to be played a lot. Rift Skitter. 4 attack, 3 block, 3 resources. Ooh. It's got Rune Gate, so you can banish it and play it for free. And assuming that you did that, it's going to come in for 3 rune chants, 4 attack, and go again. That's not too shabby. I could see that being played for sure. Interesting cards. This one's very strong. The old extended art promo that you got if you went to the armories. The 3 cost version, probably the most likely to see play. It's got Blood Debt, Rune Gate. So if you have the 3 rune chants, you're throwing 7 damage at your opponent for free, and 3 rune chants. So it doesn't have go again, but you might be able to. Nice. Good call farming those. These are going to be, I think this is going to be one of the best armory promos in a while, because this is going to see a ton of play. And then there's another Phantom boy. Phantom Wraith. Look at that card. What a cool card. It's also got Rune Gate. It's also got Blood Debt. And it's basically the same kind of card as your Phantom Banshee. But honestly, this might be more likely to see a lot of play. The only reason why I think the Banshee's better is because it's that 7 attack breakpoint. So even though it's a little bit more expensive, I think it's going to see more play. 6 blocks, you trade 2 cards usually to avoid taking damage. But I don't know. They all seem cool. You might run both. You likely would run both if you're very heavy on rune chants. Putrid Stirrings. You may play this from your banished zone for 3 resources. The next attack action card you rune gate this turn gets +5. Oh my god. The next attack action card you rune gate this turn gets +5. +5 is a lot. But like we said, +5 for 0 is good with Levia. +5 for 3, maybe not so good. But it is going to give you a massive attack, because the rune gate's coming in for 7 + 5, so it'll be 12, plus the 3 rune chants, it'll be 15 damage. Seems pretty decent. It's a lot, and it's also split up between yeah, it is. The art is extremely gruesome. I love it. Just lop his head off right there. And yeah, definitely setting up some massive turns. So, but we're getting to probably one of the most interesting cards that this game has ever printed. And for those people who have been crying and, begging for Levia support, they basically got the Lord Jaraxxus from Hearthstone treatment, where their hero gets turned into something completely different, completely powerful near the end game. And we've got 2 forms for Levia here. We've got the Consumed, where she's kind of given into the darkness and she's getting consumed by this Blasphemate character. And the other side, the flip side of this card, it's going to be one card. So I imagine every single Levia player is going to play this no matter what. It's going to be in the sideboard for every single game. Flip side is she's redeemed herself. So she's no longer a, I guess a demon? Yeah, no longer a demon. Now she's just a demi-hero. So let's take a look at this one. This one triggers first. You can never do both in the same game. So while this is in your sideboard, your inventory, when Blood Debt reduces your health to 13, that's important. When the Blood Debt reduces your health to 13, you may transform into Blasphemet Levia Consumed. So Blood Debt ticks the same way that a rune chant would tick, one at a time. So you basically need to be the one responsible for ticking this down to 13 health. But when it does, you can just immediately take Blasphemet out of your sideboard and put him onto your hero ability. And then once each turn, you may play a card with Blood Debt from your Banish Zone. Whenever a card is put into your Banish Zone, turn it face down. If you would lose life from Blood Debt, instead banish the top card of your deck. So this is just super cool, because one of the main reasons why Levia would die, if anybody played Levia back in the day, they would just die because their Blood Debt got so high every turn. They would take like 6 or 7, 8 damage at the end of their turn. So this is basically a way for them to avoid taking Blood Debt damage and have a really strong kind of power. So once each turn, you may play a card with Blood Debt from your Banish Zone. Whenever a card is put into your Banish Zone, turn it face down. So all the cards in your Banish Zone, when you switch into this hero, they're going to stay there. But the cards that would basically give you Blood Debt damage, you can't play them. You can't play anything now that goes into your Banish Zone. But you'd still take Blood Debt damage. But instead, you just banish the top deck of your card of your deck. This is interesting. I have to read a little bit more into how this works, because there's probably a lot of rules that are going on here. But I don't know if you'd have to banish the top card of your deck for every instance of Blood Debt, or if it's just the one time for Blood Debt. That seems too good. But just wait. If you think that's cool, let's flip this shit. Because we've got Levia redeemed. So also important to note on the last card, 13 health, you tick down to 13, you bring this guy out, your health goes to 13. Now, Levia redeemed. You can turn all of your cards in your Banish Zone face down. So none of them are playable. Those cards are gone. You can put this on top of your Levia, and you can only do this from your sideboard if you have 13 or more cards with Blood Debt in your Banish Zone. So it is totally a viable strategy to just get a ton of Blood Debt in your Banish Zone, go for it, and then bring out Levia redeemed, because you no longer have to worry about Blood Debt hurting you, because this last line of text is cards you own lose Blood Debt. So now all of a sudden, you have all these overstated cards that Levia has in her deck that you can play with 0 drawbacks. Super awesome. And also, it's only the cards that you've put into your Banish Zone so far that are turned face down. So you can keep playing your old game, banish cards, play from Banish. None of that stuff matters, because the Blood Debt doesn't actually exist. Your cards don't have Blood Debt anymore. So it's super cool. Definitely very flavorful, spicy kind of card. I think what I said, where you would like rush to get this out, that's a mistake, because the second you play this card, you'd go to 8 health. So unless your deck is built around healing back up from 8 health, you probably want to wait until you get closer. But I think that's kind of the natural play style for Levia. You're going to get to 13 Blood Debt eventually. The goal is just not dying on the turn before you get to play this. But super, super cool. Set your health to 8. And then that's the benefit of some of these new equipment pieces. So specifically that weapon and that headpiece. Let's say you have a turn right before you're actually going to be able to turn into Levia redeemed. You can use this attack finally, present a pretty strong attack of 6, and it's automatically going to banish a card, so you're not going to take a huge amount of blood debt damage. You can actually turn off your blood debt just in time for your 12th or 13th blood debt card going into your banish zone. So that's why I think these two, pieces of equipment are super powerful. And then now you're just wrecking people because you're just playing a bunch of overstatted sick cards for no drawback, and you look damn good doing it. Look at that swaggy. I already got my play set right here. I got my Levia redeemed. I got my Blasphemous here printed. Turns out you don't need to crack boxes. You just need to find a printer and measure things out, and then put them in a sleeve. You're ready to go. Here, I'll put these on display for you guys. We've totally abandoned our rating system here tonight, but I was sorely unprepared to rate these cards because I don't know how these heroes work yet, but we're gonna find out. And then we'll just get through some of these shadow cards, generic shadow cards. We got the similar kind of thing we had for the light side. We got 4 generic pieces of shadow equipment. These ones are weird though. I had to read these a couple times to really understand like the benefits. So if your hero would be dealt damage, you may banish this to prevent 2 of that damage. Super good. Really, really good. But then the blood debt's unavoidable here for Vincent. So I think this would probably be better in Levia, but still I think that headpiece that she got is better than this, absolutely. But maybe in the glove spot, 2 blocks seems pretty good. And then as long as you are banishing cards with blood debt, you're not taking that damage. And this is actually a perfect example of how you can get to 13 blood debt. You can, you got 3 or 4 here. You got a ton of other cards. I think it's very, very manageable with Levia. But we shall see. Dance of Darkness. Let's see some of these majestic shadow cards. So we've got Dabble in Darkness. When this attacks, yes, this is the Rabble. This is the Ravenous Rabble. So banish the top card of your deck. This gets X minus attack, where X is the pitch value of the card banished this way. So this is pretty cool though, because you're not just revealing it, you're actually banishing the top card of your deck. So that's good for your shadow heroes, obviously. This doesn't have go again, so you'd probably want to roll your scab skin leathers, or have that maybe lead the charge to give yourself some action points. But 0 cost coming in for 4, always good. And banishing a card that you might be able to play, maybe even an instant that you might get to play, like a Rattlebones or something like that, always good. One thing we haven't really done today, because it's a big exercise, is evaluate how all these cards are going to play with some of the older cards, like the Monarch, and the Arcane Rising cards. There's just so many options now, and I think that these heroes are going to be running amok for a little while. Super cool. Chain of Mephitis. I always think it's like Chain of Mephisto or Mephistopheles or whatever that magic card is, but no, Chain of Mephitis. 0 attack, 0 resources. Play this from your banish zone. If you do, it enters the arena with a doom counter. The start of your turn, destroy this, remove a doom counter. If your hero would draw a card during an action phase, instead they banish the top card of their deck and may play it this turn. Super cool. If you load your deck with cards that care about playing from the banish zone, which we've seen a ton of, then this is just gonna be crazy. How many of these do you get? Just 1, right? Enters with a doom counter. Destroy this unless you remove a doom counter from it. Yeah, so you just get 1. But this is for every card you draw that turn, so that's pretty strong. You could basically, if you draw a few cards, maybe perhaps with a Tome of Fyendel, who knows, you get to banish those cards and play them from your banish zone. So that's pretty sweet. Dimensional Vortex. Look at that. No pitch value on that bad boy. You may play this from your banish zone. If you do, it costs 2 less to play. This is a good one to banish from that last one. Each hero banishes a card from their arsenal too. Ho, very interesting. 3 resources. I think this is a very cool card. Banishing a card from your arsenal, good. Banishing a card from your enemy's arsenal, good. For you. Very bad for them. So I think this is just cool. And my ranger friends out there, how do you feel about this? Banishing a card from your arsenal? Is that something you're into? I'm not sure. Let's talk about the old Hungering Demigon. For 2 resources, if an opposing hero has 1 or more card in their soul, you may play this from your banish zone. Okay, a little light hate, perfect. This, we saw the shadow hate, now we've got the light hate, so this is great. When this hits a hero, banish a card from their soul. This is great. I like this card a lot. This is definitely going to be a sideboard for any light matchup, for sure. Grim Feast. This is another interesting card. So we saw that heal 3 if you've charged, but this one is you may play this from your banish zone. If you do, it costs 2 less. So it's still going to be heal 3 for 1 resource. Don't even look at that heal for 3. You're never going to do that. But the good thing about this is you can just throw it into your banish zone and then gain 3. It is an action, so it's not an instant. It's maybe not the best, but healing 3 in Vinset is going to be probably very good and necessary. And you want to get this out of your banish zone. Vile Inquisition. Look at this guy. It's like a Diablo character here. Vile Inquisition. For 2 resources, you may play this from your banish zone. If you do, it's free. Target hero banishes the top card of their deck. If it's red, they lose 1. Interesting. So, oh, okay, I see. So there's 3 versions of this card. If you banish your red, they lose. If you banish, you use the red one, they lose 1. If you use the yellow one, you banish a yellow one. So I imagine that this yellow version is probably going to be the most played because it's going to be going after the light heroes most likely, and you want to banish their yellow cards that they get a lot of value out of putting into their soul. So that's a pretty cool tech. I think I could see that. It's also free, so why not? And yeah, very cool. So shadow action. So this card, I don't know, I might be overreacting, but I think this is a pretty strong card. For 2 resources, if a defending hero has 1 or more card in their soul, it gets +2. I just love an 8 attack 2 cost. Even though it only blocks for 2, it just seems extremely strong and it feels good. I think this is definitely going to be a sideboard for the light matchups. Very cool to see. Sorry, I'm kind of skipping over the regular colors here, but I think we can assume what they do. They're just a little bit different than the regular one, but typically the red is the most powerful. We got the Soul Cleaver on 2 resources, 6 attack. Defending hero has 1 or more cards in their soul. This gets Go Again. So this is again, Go Again isn't crazy powerful for Brute. It is if you're not playing Scabskin Leathers, but if you aren't playing Scabskin Leathers, this is great. You can basically get a 6 attack, Go Again. You don't have to discard anything. You don't have to roll a dice. This is just super solid if you're playing Levia. Beseech the Demigon. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He looks thrilled that you're here. He's like, hey, bro. 0 cost, red. Choose an attack action card in your banish zone. It gets +3 until the end of your turn. All right, super standard, you know. +3 for 0, not bad. It's got to be in your banish zone. So that's obviously a consideration, but from the cards we've seen, there's a ton of ways to get cards into your banish zone, get them played from there. The Attack on Titan common right here. Totally. He's gonna eat you after this. So could be good. I mean, 3 for 0 is good. Sucks that it's only until the end of the turn, but that's totally fine. Tear Through the Portal. Choose a red action card in your banish zone. It gains go again until the end of your turn. Very cool. So this is, again, banished zone interaction. This is a yellow, this is a blue. They do the same kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty powerful. Getting go again, especially for Vincent. It seems like not too many of her cards have go again, so this could be pretty strong. We got the Embodiments of Earth. We got your non-attack actions. Okay, these are all just tokens from previous sets. We've got some random love for our Tales of Aria heroes. Again, this is, I'm not sure if this is going to be good. I think the Briar card is pretty good, actually. For 0, it's a blue. The next attack action card you play this turn gets +1 and go again. Unity. When this defends together with a card, create an Embodiment of Earth token. This is the cool part. Under any number of heroes' control. So if you're playing multiplayer, whatever it ends up being, you're going to just be handing out Embodiment of Earth tokens like your Oprah. It's awesome. You get an Embodiment of Earth. You get an Embodiment of Earth. It's beautiful. Same thing with the Old Man. Old him recently, just yesterday, was Living Legend. Have a great trip to Valhalla, sir. But if you're playing Ultimate Pit Fighter or what the hell this ends up being, Spellbane Aegis, you get to hand those out. Really interesting that they're just throwing in one card for each of these heroes, but for Travis here on the line, you got a little specialization for Lexi. For our Rangers, LSS basically said yesterday that Lexi is the most dangerous hero in the meta. So hopefully this card's not that good, because we don't want her to get too much better. But I don't think it's too good in this setting. But for 0 cost, yellow, your attacks this turn whenever the defending hero adds 1 or more defending cards from their hand, this deals 1 damage to them. So it's pretty solid. I think a lot of people are blocking Lexi out because she just does so much damage. So every time they add a card to block, you're going to be pinging them down for 1 more. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. This seems pretty good. And you can generate these Embodiment of Lightning tokens, which give her go again, which she needs, right? She definitely needs go again. She's not doing enough damage. All right, we're getting the dregs here, fellas and ladies and everybody. Rugged Roller. This is a really interesting card. I don't think this is a good card, but I think it's gonna get better. I think this, so right now Brute doesn't have a ton of roll cards that don't just end your turn. So Scabskin Leathers is really the one that I see the most. There's a couple new ones, I can't remember what they're called, but none of them are really like considerations for good cards. But I do think in the future, if there's some kind of card that lets you increase your dice roll by 1 or lets you roll 2 dice and take the higher of the 2, this card's going to be absolutely insane. For 1 attack, for 1 resource, 6 attack, that's just crazy. And it's probably worth just trying out now today too, because at least you can just win games really fast if this works. And you lose them if you don't. You don't lose too much though, it's only 1. Now, the most hilariously named card in the set, the Scowling Flesh Bag. When this defends, Intimidate. This is a really cool card. You're intimidating on your opponent's turn. So they have to be extra careful around when they're going to do this. They have to have, a bad hand, or if they have something that they're looking to do after their attack, they have to make damn sure that they don't want to do that this turn, because you might just take it from their hand. So I don't know if it's good enough to replace the Crown of Providence or the Skull Cap or whatever the Arcane Barrier 2 one that they have. But it's definitely one I'm going to play a lot of, so we'll see how it goes. Numbskull. beautiful little always on rate card. Nothing you can do to make this card not perfect. 6 attack, 3 block, 2 resources, always and forever. Nothing you can do to shut her down. So I think this is just solid. A lot of people are speculating that Deathmatch is the name of the next set, or the Brute Savage Land set, because it's spelled this way. So we're gonna see. Hopefully we get to go to the Deathmatch arena and watch Brutes, get some Brute cards. But yeah, this is just a really interesting card because no matter what you do, you're gonna get hit for 6. It's beautiful. Yeah. Next one. Blue card in Brute. Worth reading at least. Dig Up Dinner. Choose 3 random cards in your graveyard. Shuffle all attack action cards with 6 or more attack chosen this way into your deck. Then gain that much health. Banish this. I don't know about this card. There's a lot of things that it does weirdly. It's good because it's like an anti-fatigue kind of recursion card, but you choose 3 random cards from your graveyard, and then you also have to shuffle your deck. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if this is worth playing, but it blocks for 3 at the least. Starstruck, a little Bravo specialization. Got to give the people what they want. This handsome stud. 7 resources, 10 attack. Just Bravo doing what he does. When this deals 4 or more damage to your hero, the only attacks they may play during their next turn are attacks with base attack greater than the damage dealt this way. So if this deals 6 damage, they can only play attacks that come in for 7 damage. So for certain classes, that just shuts down their whole turn, basically. Pretty cool. And then you can also make a Seismic Surge by defending. And the good thing about this versus some of the other Unity cards is that this actually blocks for 3. So it's worth blocking with this guy. All right, we're getting there. We're so close. We got our Decimator Axe. I love Warrior. I think this is gonna be something I'm gonna try out for sure. 3 attack, 3 resources, 4 attack. The first time that your opponent defends, half the base block value of the defending card. So if you come in for, a buffed 7 attack and they're defending with the first time this is defended, and they defend with a big defense reaction as an example, they can't just do that because you're going to cut it in half. So they come in with like a staunch response for 8 or 7, then you're going to basically bring that way down. So I think it's interesting. It's really expensive, but there is a bunch of Axe Dory and Axe Warrior synergy that came out in the last few sets. Definitely worth trying. Bastion of Unity. This is just a beautiful, beautiful card. I want to have this like framed on my wall. When this defends with a card from your hand, this gets +1 until the end of turn. So if you have 2 cards that you're defending with, this goes up to +1, and then it gets a -1. So it blocks for 3 over the course of the game. Yeah, blocks for 3 for a sidearm. Not bad. The question is, what are you using in your main arm as a warrior if you're using this? Dawnblade is a 2-hander. Would you be using an axe as Bolton? Possibly. I'm not sure. My girl Dory got a very cool card that's not actually a Dory card. It's just a warrior arm equipment. I think most everybody thinks that this is pretty much a Bolton card, because your next sword attack this turn gets create a courage token if it hits. So it basically does the same thing as your Brave Forge bracers, but it's an action, so it's not a. I think Brave Forge bracers is a reaction, but it's really kind of very similar, competing with that one. But Bolton seems to care a lot about courage tokens, so it might actually be a good fit for him as well. Blocks for the same amount, but it doesn't have Battle Worn, so that's a pretty key difference. This one's got Temper, so if you block for that last one, it's going to break, and you're going to lose the ability to use this. So that is obviously a huge knock on this compared to the other one, Braveforge, but still pretty strong. The Chorus of Iron Song. My girl Dory with the specialization in 2023. That's awesome. This is a great card. I'm going to play this. I hope I get 3 of these in my boxes, because Dawnblade gets +1, and damage this would be dealt can't be prevented. Seems to be a lot of prevention effects right now, like Oasis Respite, a lot of the new equipment, those are all kind of prevention effects. So I would rather have this kind of coming in. If you put this on with the Overpower, like the Iron Song Determination, I think is that one, you're just basically coming in for 5 on the Dawnblade for a blue, and it can't be prevented. So that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty strong. It's if you have a Tunic counter and a way to give it go again, then you're basically guaranteeing yourself a token or a +1 counter on the next turn. And then also it creates a courage token if you want to block with it. Very cool. This is a funny and weird and interesting card. It's a blitz card because Minerva Themis is the Dorinthia, the Bolton Mentor card, only in the Bolton Blitz deck or a promo. So super weird that you just like throw her into a pit and she will save your life. But you can basically, next time you're dealt lethal damage, you can banish Minerva from your hand or arsenal to prevent that damage. So you'd probably want to play this like when you're taking a ton of damage over your lethal threshold, if you can time that right, because then you can basically throw her into the abyss and you'll go down to 1, or actually you wouldn't go down to 1. If let's say you're at 3 health, you're going to take 4. It's going to prevent all of that damage. You'd stay at 3. So super cool, super sick, but it's definitely a very niche specific card. So, but I'll try it. I'll throw it in the old Warrior Blitz deck. And then we got a couple more little here. So this is the one we were talking about. I'm not sure if Vincett's actually going to be using this Flail of Agony or not, because there is the other option of going the arcane damage route. So once per turn for 2 resources, you can deal 1 arcane damage to any opposing target. So you can target allies and things like that. But the thing about this is if you pump this damage up, you're going to generate a ton of rune chants. And rune chants are really good. You want to be using those rune gates as much as possible. So I just think this is going to be a really solid. People are going to find a way to make this work because there are tons of synergies in cards that are already printed where you can pump up your arcane damage and also pump up the number of rune chants that you create. So I expect this to be kind of the main weapon that Vincett uses. Vincett, Runeblade's also got just like an extremely solid chest piece. It's a 3 block with temper, so it will break, but it's also got Arcane Barrier 2, so just does so much. Doesn't have like any resource generation, but I just think it's super solid. Like if you're especially going against some aggro decks, this is just probably what you want. And my boy Viserai. Similar to what happened with Outsiders and how Lexi was the real winner from Outsiders, I honestly think that Viserai is going to be the boogeyman after this set drops. He's got so many good cards already, and all this rune chant stuff is going to be really good for him. So he got a specialization here. The next Runeblade attack card you play this turn costs less resources for each rune chant. So you can basically do this. This is going to generate a rune chant on its own. If you have any of those kind of Mordred Tide things going on, it's going to generate more. So maybe you can just play one of those massive, like Oath of the Ninth Blade or whatever that crazy card is that does a ton of damage. Just play this for free. Strong card. Runic Reckoning. We got the cost. This costs less to play for each rune chant you control. The next Rune Blade attack card you play gets +3. Very cool. So you can play this for free with just one rune chant. That's really good. And it's going to make a rune chant so that you can just attack for a ton of damage. Yeah, I'm building the Viserai deck immediately. We even got some Cheyenne love. Don't forget about your friendly neighborhood shapeshifter. When this attacks, defending hero reveals their hand. You may choose an attack action card revealed this way. If you do, this becomes the chosen card. You were the chosen card. And then this basically you can find a Command and Conquer in your opponent's hand, and you can use it for free or for 2. Oh, 2's not that good. This is better against Bravo. You can see a Pulverize. You can play it for 2. This is crazy, but it is for Blitz, so I wouldn't worry about it. What else we got? Some Illusionist cards. A rare Illusionist attack. It's a 2-handed weapon. The auras you control are weapons with 5 base attack, and once per turn they can attack. Interesting. Illusionist auras you control are weapons with 5 base. Isn't this basically Luminaris? Are people not upset about this? Illusionist auras you control. This is an aura. You have a Spectral Shield with 5 base attack. I guess it costs a lot, so it will cost you 2 resources to attack. I think Luminaris was just 0, so it was super busted, but it was pretty cool. I haven't seen anybody say anything about this yet, so let's talk about the legendary too. People seem not impressed. Doesn't have go again. All right, there it is. Thanks, Soul Banana. Thank you. Need your guidance on these new classes I haven't played, but yeah, that makes sense. So you'd have to give it go again, which I guess isn't possible technically because that was on Luminaris before. Okay, makes sense. Let's check out the old legendary headpiece here. Once per turn, when this or non-token permanent you control with ward is destroyed, you may pay 1. If you do, create a ponder token. So I think people are sleeping on this card. It sucks that it has ward 2, and early on in the game, if you take damage before any of your other ward allies are up, you kind of have to sacrifice this guy. But I think this is pretty good. Yeah, exactly. With the heralds, with the figments, and you have them up, as long as you can get a figment out early before you take any damage, then I think you're living pretty good. And exactly, you can choose wave first too. You can make sure the wave pops before that. So basically, as long as you get to choose which instance of ward triggers first, then this card's going to be great if you can keep this around for a little while, because having a ponder token guaranteeing a 5-turn hand, super powerful. So I do think that this is a really good card. What else we got here? So our generic or just regular illusionist defense cards. Mirage. When this is defending a non-illusionist attack with 6 or more, destroy this. So it is basically Phantasm, but on a defense reaction. So you can block up to 5 damage for 0 cost, which is really good. But I don't think this is... Unless you have a way of bringing down the base attack of your opponent's weapon or card, then this kind of feels like it would more often than not end up with you getting popped. But it's a bit weird. If you had a Vambrace, maybe. If you had a Vambrace of Determination, you could bring down any 6 attack cards down to a 5, then this is just super efficient in the arsenal. But yeah, seems pretty situational, so TBD. We'll see how it goes. Lost in Thought. For 1 resource thread, look at the target hero's hand and choose an attack card. If you do, they put that card in the bottom of their deck and they create a ponder token. Interesting. Seems disruptive. I like that it has go again. It's only 1. Yeah, you can basically stop their game plan. And you get to look at their hand. So you can basically, if they have a good hand for the next turn, shut them down. Ponder token, it's obviously good, but it's not that big of a deal on their turn, because if you get rid of their piece, you're basically just replacing their card that they want with something that they might not want from the top of their deck. So yeah, I think that's cool. It's also 1 less card to block with on your turn, so they don't get their card until the end of the turn. You could just kill them. It's a great little game finisher. We got our Spectral Shield tokens. Okay, we got our generic Majestics. These are important. Rip the Phantasm. Yeah. Oh, I hate this card already. Sensa. Okay, we got a 1 cost, 5 attack. When this hits a hero, name a card, and then it can't play the named card until the end of their next turn. Oh. That's weird. Let me know if the stream is messing up. I'm getting a message from YouTube being like, hey, you gotta chill. Your bandwidth is low. This could be good. I think this is a bit harder to pull off. You basically have to know exactly which card, but you know, this might be pretty good with this one. Might be pretty good with this guy. Yeah, exactly. I think these are kind of close. Lost in Thought into Censor. You can basically just telegraph their entire turn, shut them down. So very, very cool. Very frustrating to play against, I'm sure. Now this Hold the Line card is also super interesting. If the attacking hero has drawn 2 or more cards this turn, prevent the next 3 damage that will be dealt to your hero this turn. This isn't good by any measure initially, but I think against the right matchup, like if you're playing against, I think Fi draws a lot of cards. Anybody that plays Art of War, this is immediately active after Art of War is played in that card draw mode. So super cool. I think that's probably going to be an aggro deck most of the time as well, drawing those cards. So you probably want to have the 0 cost 5 block. Still, it's, you know, it's pretty risky. So it'll probably see play though. And then we got a couple little these are the multiplayer cards, I think. Yeah, 3 of a Kind for sure. 3 of a Kind is actually a really good example of like one card that is really, really played, like widely played, that this would be so good against, because Lexi does so much damage, and Endless Arrow with like a pump would also be blocked out by this completely. So Warmonger's Diplomacy. This is a commander card. Starting with the hero to your left. No, this is a conspiracy card. If anyone ever played Magic Conspiracy, each hero chooses war or peace. If they choose war, the only actions they may play or activate during their next turn are weapon and attack actions. If they choose peace, the only actions they can play or activate during their next turn are non-weapon and non-attack actions. This is actually pretty cool, even in a one-on-one setting. You're basically limiting the types of cards. Obviously, super situational based on the matchup, but I don't think this is going to be played a ton. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Runeblade. That's true. Shut them down. So they can only do their attacks, and they can't do their Runeblade action. That's a good point. So, yeah, definitely definitely has its use. And again, if nothing else, you got the old 3-block. Good old trusty 3-block. And cost nothing to play. Pitches for blue. You could just wait until you have the right time to actually play this. Very cool card. Yeah, exactly. No go again kind of sucks. It's a good way to end the turn. Titanium bauble. I mean, you can go pro and use a titanium bauble. And then we got the last card, the old Poison the Well. Same kind of stat line. Blue, pitch, 0 cost. The next time a hero would gain life this turn, instead they lose that much. So this is awesome. If we talked about the Eloquence tokens being played into the Tome of Fyendel a bunch, especially for Vincent, this would be a great card to play right on the stack of the Tome of Fyendel, because they're gonna, let's say they heal for 4, they heal for 5. Vincent's gonna be leveraging their health a lot, so being able to play this at the right time to just basically do the opposite of what they're looking to do to stay alive. I think this card's pretty sweet. I don't think it's gonna be, an auto include by any means, but I do think it's kind of neat. And it's just fun for a Dromai who's like, oh, I'm just gonna clear my hand of my sigils. You can just be like, you know what? Drink that poison instead. I like having that option. So, but yeah, that is the whole set. We've basically been through. Oh wait, there's one or two more. There's one more. Which one? Yeah, here you go. There's one more set of equipment I want to talk about. It's not on the Fabry website yet, but it is on the spoiler tracker. There is a set of rare equipment that blocks for 2, and I think all of it blocks for 2. So the arms, the legs, the chest, and the head. At the beginning of your end phase, put a -1 counter on this, and it has Blade Break. So this is basically, this is a blitz piece of equipment. This is telling you to play aggressive, keep your card advantage, block with your equipment at the start of the game, in your first turn actually, if you want to get full value out of it. And if your opponent's coming in for a 6 attack card, 6 attack on your first turn, and you have 3 pieces of this equipment, just throw all 3 pieces of it on there, and then you're gonna block for 6, and then you can just go ahead and play your whole hand. So I don't know. This is a really weird set of equipment. I don't think I quite understand. Soul Banana, if you understand, if you see this being good, go ahead and let me know, but I don't think that anyone's gonna reach for this. But yeah, it's gotta just be used early, I'm guessing. But going first, you would hate to have this. I guess you would only include this if you know that you're going second. Yeah. Because at the end of your first turn, you're going to get a -1 on this. So it just kind of sucks. But interesting. And then I think we may have talked about this, but the last legendary in the set just revealed. Oh, what's this? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We've got... Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's a really good point. You can choose your equipment after choosing who goes first or second. So that's why you kind of keep that in there, take the damage or not. And if you, you get the -1. It's all Gucci. That's not the exciting equipment that this guy here, frontline plating, no disrespect. This is the guy that everybody wants to see. This is the person. The Crown of Providence. After cracking a full case of Uprising and not getting the Crown of Providence, you can see why the price goes up. The price has been up. Everybody wants it. If you can't buy a case and get it, you gotta just reprint it. I'm really glad that they're reprinting this. and I almost bought one for almost $200, and I'm really hoping that this comes down to like, even $100 is a pretty good price. But the question is, with the regular non-foil version now, if this is going to bring down the price of the foil version significantly, or if people are going to hold on to their foil versions. Because I have seen a lot of people say, I'll trade you my foil I'll trade you my cold foil crown for a rainbow foil crown and some other cards. So that would be really cool if this card being printed in non-foil brings down the foil version significantly, because I'd love to have a cold foil crown. That thing is beautiful. But yeah, strictly better than Frontline helmet. I don't know, Soul Banana. This might be the winner of the set. Frontline plating helmet, definitely tier 1. Being sarcastic. Hopefully that's clear. But yeah, super exciting. The set's gonna be awesome. Had some pictures loaded to kind of give everyone an idea of what the rating system was. The rating system that I abandoned 10 minutes into this video was, is this card going to be a 5? Is it going to be the heat? Is it going to be auto included in every version of this deck or this hero? Or is it going to be a pack filler, a 1? So had some examples of that. But just to end on an example of that, Crown of Providence is absolutely the definition of a 5. Pack in the heat. Excellent card. Can't wait to have one. I felt so left out. But that's it. That's the set. Looking very, very forward to playing a ton of it. Learning a bunch of new heroes, getting my ass kicked, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. Haven't even talked about the serialized cards that are coming. Very unlikely to pull one of those. It's kind of like the Magic 1 of 1 ring, but the chase is fun. So definitely be looking forward to cracking a bunch of packs. And what are you guys looking forward to? You got the new Prism? I got mine here. I've got mine printed already. So if I don't open one, I'm just gonna use this guy here. Yeah, I like that they're kind of standardizing the way that the Illusionist class works a little bit more. I was kind of reading through the figments, and I imagine that they're probably going to add in some sort of like what they did with Dynasty, and they gave some support to the Dromai cards. They're going to do the same kind of thing with the figments in the next set as well, like one every couple sets, just to kind of keep the variety going for Prism players. But these are so insane. Like, I think everyone kind of needs to have a Vincent deck ready if Prism gets too popular, because she just absolutely crushes Prism. At least ally heavy Prism. So the Illusionist chess piece here, it's called the Imperium Rapture. So it is basically going to, when one of your heralds hit, it's gonna let you pop off your figment ability for free. So instead of for 2, you just go for it. Yeah, Travis, I feel like she's not the most like pick up and play hero. I have no idea how to really play Prism, but I think I got to do at least 1 or 2 drafts before this weekend, like even just playing a couple games with the Monarch heroes, just so I kind of know the play patterns, because I don't, it would be sucky to draft a Prism deck and then have to read what the cards do right on the spot, because it's pretty complicated. It's a bit of a different style than swing sword, do damage. Interesting. So people were drafting Levia at your event recently. See, I kind of figured that. I was hoping that people would have heard about how bad she was and not try and draft her, and then I could draft her because I know how to play Brute and was hoping that people would play a lot of Prism and I could farm the Prism players. But it seems like people are excited about Levia, so maybe they want to take the cards home and build a deck, and they want to pull this crazy new Marvel, this Reborn. My metagame is not going to work out, I'm sure, but I guess it all depends on what I open in the first pack. If I open like a Carrion Husk, I'm forcing Levia. Even if I don't, I'm gonna force her. And my winner for best card in the whole set goes to Soul Butcher in red. It's got everything you could ever want, you know? Yeah, how could you not open a Carrion Husk in your draft? What are you, a noob? Look at this card. I mean, yeah, no, for sure. I was just trolling. I think it'll just be fun to hit your opponent for 8 with 2. But again, it's probably not actually that good. So there's actually a really handy spreadsheet spoiler tracker. I can put it in the chat here for y'all. Let me know if that works. Yeah, check out that spreadsheet is somebody managed this all weekend. So this is where I was kind of uploading, refreshing this page all weekend, looking at the new spoilers. And then they've also been posting links to the actual cards. So also not on February is the Fable, which is a classic light getting all the fun toys. They got another Fable, which is very, very good, probably too good. Kind of sucks when the Fable is like a card that's gonna turn the tide of a game, but basically you can pitch for free. A lot of the new Bolton cards, some of the new Prism cards too, but mostly Bolton, they care about yellow cards being added to your soul, and this just lets you pitch and add them to your soul. So this is a really good card. I would probably try and grab this if it's cheap early, or if it kind of dips as tons of this set is going to be opened. I'll probably try and grab one of these because I can't imagine it's going to be cheap for long or ever, really. But yeah, that's the set, and they finally got the full thing here. They were waiting. We were speculating for a couple days now if that legendary is going to be Crown of Providence. I'm really, really happy to see it is, and yeah, it's going to be sweet. Hopefully I can actually open one myself. It's going to be cool to see. So this weekend, anybody getting out to any of the War of the Monarch events? I'm playing in a double Saturday draft, so I'm doing one at 12:30 p.m. and then I'm doing one at 6 p.m. So I imagine I'm gonna be trash on the second one. Oh, dude, you pulled a Marvel Frailty? Dude, that's like pulling a lottery ticket. If anybody needs to know, Travis in the chat here actually has the most insane luck with his boxes. Like I need him to open my cards because he got a Cold Foil Twin Horizons. Twin Horizons, is that what it's called? You got that in your first box. And then what was the other thing? You got something insane in your next one. Did you get a crown? New Horizon, that's the one, not Twin Horizon. I always think it's Twin Horizon because it gives you two slots for your arsenal. So. Oh yeah, that's right. You got the Shyana. So crazy. Hey man, you ever want to open my my boxes on stream? I would love to open some Marvels. I like that it's this weekend you can go for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So there's options. I was gonna try and make it out for a Sunday one too, but it's gonna be. We'll see how I'm doing. I might just need like some therapy after getting crushed three drafts in a row. So we'll just have to see. Look at this old man. What do we got? Yeah. I'm hoping you pull the Phantasmal Footsteps if you're doing any Monarch drafting. It's just got to be your pack one, pick one. Then you're set. I haven't done any Outsiders openings, Travis. Maybe I need to see. Try my luck. Yeah. Well, thanks to you, man. Honestly, I was losing steam pretty much after the Prism cards. I was like, oh my god, there's so many more cards to go. But yeah, it helps to have somebody to actually go through them with me. If it was just me on here, definitely. But yeah, it got a lot easier once I got into Heroes. I understood how to play. Oh, Haven, that makes way too much sense. Economical choices, just buying the cards you want. That's crazy, man. You just gotta roll the scab skin and gamble a little. Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. It was really fun. I appreciate it. This is definitely the longest stream and most engagement I've had in a stream, so I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. Yeah. And let me know if there's anything you think I could do, or if you wanna, you want me to stream anything else. I'm kind of figuring all this stuff out now too, so it's awesome. Gambler's Glass. I know. I love Gambler's Gloves. That's like literally, I wish I could just bring it in every deck. You can, I guess, but rolling scab skins without Gambler's Gloves is truly like sociopath behavior. I love it. It's look at these bad boys. Let's take a look. What a good card. What a good card. My favorite thing is when someone doesn't know what Scab Skins does, and you just sit down at the armory and you roll your dice and you assume that they've played against Brute, but when they're like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I just rolled a dice and I actually now have 3 action points, so sorry, man. And they're like, oh, cool, can I see that card for a second? And you're like, yeah, of course. I'm gonna hit you for 15 now, but yeah, of course you can see it. Good times had by all Brute players. Three action points, and then I'm definitely gonna be trying this guy here. This card is just built for a really good night or a really bad night, you know. takes a little bit of planning, but I'm gonna definitely try this out. Rolling sixes, very unlikely, but you're saying there's a chance. Don't get fooled by the trap, Travis. It seems good. It is definitely not good yet, but it might be good one day. I think it's gonna be good once they add some rolling stuff that's not like mission critical, and yeah, once there's just like once Flesh and Blood brute players just turns into a craps game, that card's gonna be great. So right now we're looking at, I just looked at this earlier today, there is not that many. Yeah. Roll a 6. There's only a few options here. So you got one. That's a roll. That's a roll. Rolling Thunder. Yeah, this is a good roll. Is this only in red? Yeah, I never even seen this card. Skull Crushers. Yeah. And then Bad Beats. Yeah, this gives you rolling potential. Rolling. And then this guy too. You probably wouldn't play this on your turn today. But if it gave you the ability to swing for 6, I guess that's the problem. Like, you wouldn't do something this dumb. Like, you wouldn't crack a Bonehead Barrier just to attack for 6 for 1 resource. But I thought about it. I've certainly thought about it. So, anyway, there's gonna be a lot of time to mess around with these cards, and I'm excited to try them all out. Hopefully it goes well this weekend, and yeah. I think we're gonna shut her down for the night. It's been almost 3 hours, but that was really fun. Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't, but you could, and you might want to try it. We'll leave you with the old flesh and roll. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the interwebs, and good luck on all your not drafts of this set, but Monarch drafts. Good night, and don't work too hard. Good luck tomorrow.